And with that, it looks like we're live.
All right. Hi, folks.
Hi,
it
everybody.
is Friday night. Thanks for joining us for this kind of impromptu live stream that we're doing. We have a special guest with us. It's Eric Thurm.
Hello.
He's visiting from the East Coast. You're on a book tour currently.
I am.
And he swung by to hang out with us and have some beers and talk about games. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
See, now I'm gonna do this thing that I was
Now we're gonna
talking
do the
about.
beer.
I'm gonna
Okay.
open the beer. Huh?
In
Yeah?
case you're curious, we're
Very good
drinking
stuff.
Restless Years Rye.
Rye Pale Ale.
Rye Pale Ale.
Huh.
Something different. Our friend Mel sent this to us via the beer subscription. 5.8%. So while we're waiting for everybody to get on the stream and start watching, let's just have a taste.
Well, let's wait for our guest to.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
Gotta observe decorum.
Right, right.
Oh boy, this is too foamy.
Oh, that's good.
The foam tastes good.
That's very good. What do you think?
That's very refreshing.
Yeah.
It's been nice being back I lived in Chicago for a while, and I am used to being in New York, all beer being both terrible and like $9. So you kind of have to like lose your taste.
Okay, I'll have another Youngling.
Yeah, that's exactly. Like I get if I have to, and you kind of like force yourself to not think about it that much.
So, yeah, so this is just a live, like, different kind of thing that we're doing today. We've never really done anything specifically like this. We've done Matt and I hang out kind of stuff. By the way, I'm Aaron. That's Matt.
They know that.
That's Eric. Courtney's on the keys. She'll be replying to you, and if there is any random PayPals that float in or whatever, or if we miss any Super Chats, she'll be here.
Eric is driving, so he's not going to have any shots, but we will have shots.
Of course, because we're not driving.
We're not. I'm walking. I walked over here.
Cannon
how I do
Ranger is happy to have a surprise live stream.
So there are also, you can do Super Chat on here. You can do the stuff that's in the description. Yeah, are we giving away anything?
We could.
I suppose now that I said it, we probably have
Well, now
to.
we have to.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Well, let's do a giveaway at the end of the stream.
What do you want? Like baby cookie pitcher?
Or one of those games we didn't do last time.
Okay.
You guys want copies of the book? Could do that. If anyone's
you want to give away a
we
copy
can give away
of the
some
book?
copies of the book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If people are feeling it,
Can you mail them?
I have them here.
Oh, you have them here?
Yeah.
But do you want to mail them?
We'll mail them, you bozo. do you want to give away your shit and do all the work?
I've traveled with them. We have the supply.
Okay, that would be great. How about, do you want to give away 2 copies?
I would love to give away 2 copies
Okay.
of the book.
All right.
I hope that we get 2 people who are excited enough about the book that they want copies.
This is the book.
I hope no one's like, damn, I really wanted one of those other games.
No,
Fuck
no,
this."
they don't want those games. They want this book. This is the book that Eric's currently on tour with. Avidly reads board games. There it is. And we're giving 2 of those away at the end of the stream. So
I read the book, and it's very good. There's a lot of interesting, you kind of, like, it's intellectual. You talk about, the board games in our lives and stuff like that, but there's also, like, an emotional aspect to it, where you talk about how it affected you when you were growing up and with your family and stuff like that.
And I think a lot of people have similar, experiences to that. Just remembering games of their youth.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, sort of the other events I've been doing, I mostly try to get people to play a lot of the things I talk about in the book. Because I think that I think if you've written a book, it's because you're not necessarily the best at expressing yourself verbally. And it's better to sort of just play the games and talk about how people feel about them. And also because some of them are ones that you wouldn't normally get to play. And then I talk a little bit about the experience of playing some of those. The first scene of the book is like my siblings and I in a hospital waiting room. Basically, my grandfather had terminal cancer, and we were there to sort of say goodbye to him, and we were sitting in the waiting room and kind of just didn't know what to do, and just sort of pulled out the copy of Catan that we were playing with and played a game completely in silence. And it was very meaningful for the 300th game that we had played.
That's really neat. Yeah, and so then you talk about you played Catan until it was time to go in and visit, and you came back out and you're like, well,
Guess we gotta finish, yeah.
Finish the game. Yep.
Yeah, the three of us take it very seriously. It kind of, at some points when I've been talking about this, it feels very much like I'm kind of like coming into a music space and being like, y'all heard of Taylor Swift? But I think that it just sort of like, especially in my family, that's like the thing that people got really attached to. And we have this running spreadsheet for how many people have won different games and the total number of victory points that goes back like 3 or 4 years. And I think at this point, we just have too much momentum to do anything else. So it just kind of, that's what we played. And it's gonna I think take us into the next decade. We'll still kind of be adding sheets to the Google Doc.
I'm home for Thanksgiving. It's time to play the Grizzled.
Oh boy, yeah.
Do some World War I in the trenches survival game.
Is that a game?
Yes, I love the Grizzled. As soon as I
called
saw
The Grizzled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was casually flipping the first time I got the book, I saw that you mentioned the Grizzled, and I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I played that game like 6 or 7 times.
It's great.
I won it once. It's really hard. It's almost impossible.
So probably not something we can play on our show.
Well, we could.
Okay.
We wouldn't win. I mean,
We wouldn't.
We could try.
We'd finish. We'd probably get annihilated instantly.
Okay.
It's like,
do you have it?
I don't. I
I
don't have a
know.
copy of it.
Okay.
Do you have it with you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't really play it right now, I
No.
guess, but we could look at it. It's interesting to look at, but it's about soldiers in World War I. You play a soldier,
Yeah.
and you're just trying to get rid of all the cards on this stack. And if you can't do that, I forget exactly what the timing of it is.
It's like there are 2 stacks, and you have to get through one of the stacks before you get through the other one. So if
Yes.
you get to the bottom of one stack, there's like the dove card that represents the armistice at the end of the war, and at the end of the other stack is a big headstone that has all your names on it. And basically the point is just to sort of survive. Like, you don't win anything, and the way that you win the rounds is not by like winning a battle or by, doing anything sort of victorious. You just have to kind of like retreat at the right time. And I think the game does a really good job of being like, yeah, this actually sucks quite badly. It's like very unpleasant, and there's sort of, like there's gas coming at you, there are bullets, there's all this other stuff. You're gonna get PTSD from some things, and the point
There's
of the
all these
game,
afflictions that your soldier can get to make things harder, and every turn, you all point to someone you think should get helped right away. And if the majority point to the right person, they can do it. If there's a tie, nobody gets to remove an affliction.
So it's like a triage kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's cooperative, of course. I don't know if we mentioned that, but
okay.
It's a really neat game, and I loved the challenge of trying to puzzle out like how to get through it, and also just like you say, it's kind of like if you're in that situation in the war, your odds of getting out of it were extremely low.
The tagline for the game is, "Can friendship be stronger than war?" And in my experience playing, the answer is no, which is very depressing, but also maybe accurate. And I just think it's a really good instance of like the mechanic, like the rules of the game are the thing that it's about, in a way that I feel like you get sometimes, but not necessarily as often as you would like. And it does a really good job of being like, this is the experience we're trying to communicate, and we've kind of turned that into an effective cooperative game.
Yeah. I think we'll play that at some point. I would like to. I have some games that I want to show you. I know that you talk about this one in particular in the book, but I just wanted to show you that I don't know. I've never played this.
Interesting.
And I know that someone sent it to us who's a fan of beer and board games. And I wish that we'd played it, but it's actually like a really, what does it say up here? You are a corporation, not a CEO. A corporation. You will start businesses to make money. You will manipulate the American people and government. You will do what corporations do best to maximize profits. Yeah. So.
Is that taken from like a memo that someone sent out?
Yeah, it sounds like
At
it.
an actual corporation?
Yeah.
When is this from?
It's pretty recent. I think someone sent it to us like a year or two ago.
This looks new.
Yep. And we haven't played it. I hope to someday.
There's a good genre. When I was doing research for the book, I went through this like really big collection that they have at the New York Historical Society, and there are all these games from like the late 80s and early 90s where you're basically playing as a corporation, and the point is to just destroy the Earth as quickly as possible. It's all very like reverse Captain Planet core of like, can you screw over the sea lions? Like, can you kill the penguins effectively and like not get caught?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and the art is really crazy in all of those, and you get a lot of like people being like, this game is about society, man. And like I don't know, I really like that stuff. I think it's like it's very sort of like obvious in what it's about, but I don't think you couldn't make it any other way. It kind of is just like, yeah, like we're gonna kind of talk about how these like 6 corporations control everything in the country.
Well, we should play this. This looks good.
Yeah, definitely. We've played on on Beer and Board Games. We played Class Struggle, of course, which you.
Oh well,
mentioned.
let's just go real quick through this list because.
Oh yeah, we got the
gamography.
Yeah, that's what they made me call it. I wanted it to be like a list of games played, and they were like, no, it's got to sound academic.
Oh, real quick, Grace Marie says, "I'm glad you guys are streaming tonight." Thanks, Grace.
Cool. We played a sham session of Access and Analyze on the show. We got through like a half a turn.
Yeah.
Most of the show was just set up.
That was
pretty
that
ridiculous.
That a lot of my childhood was like I would go over to my best friend's house and we would set up Access and Allies, and then our parents would be like, "It's dinner time."
Yeah, it's time to go.
We've played Betrayal at House on the Hill. Is that the one where you're just running? You run from the campground to the. You're trying to outrun the.
I don't remember.
You're like building the haunted house, and each of the tiles is like a different room in the house.
Yeah.
And you find all
game.
these sort of like occult objects, and eventually it triggers one of like 50 scenarios in which one person is the traitor, and then you kind of like play through, and it's very imbalanced and weird because there are so many different scenarios. It's not good, but it's very fun. And there's a legacy version of it that I've had in my house for a year and never played, and I'm very interested to see what it's like.
We have not played Blacks and Whites, but we have it. It's
right
over there.
Holy shit! I feel like I just got Nardward. That's amazing.
We've been, there were moments where we almost played it, and we looked at it and we're like,
Well, we gotta play it eventually.
But I think we will play it eventually. It's just very it's kind of
It's
kind of frightening to imagine playing it for people in public.
Yeah, the thing that's crazy about that game in public is like there was a piece in, I want to say, Life magazine about it, in which the guy who wrote it, who was like a respected journalist, talks about playing it with a bunch of his friends, and he says basically we all got sort of comfortable enough that we ended up just like using racial slurs, and he just says that in the magazine. And it's like, I totally understand if the point of the game is you're trying to sort of communicate like, oh, if you were black, like you couldn't buy property in certain areas, and like these are all these constraints that you're under, and that is like very much not what this guy took away from it. He's just like, yeah, this is great, my friends and I all hung out and like pretended to be black for a while, and it's like, that's very fucked up.
I don't think that's how we would play it.
Yeah. But it's like, that sort of is the danger you get with those, of like, if you're not kind of playing it and thinking about the right stuff, it's just like you kind of come out of it with very, very weird conclusions.
Yeah. We've played Public Assistance, which
Wow, how was that? I've never played that one. I couldn't. That was the only one I was like, I can't play this one. It's too much.
No, we did play it, and I mean, we just sort of looked at it as sort of this outdated, like really cheesy
kind of
crap
very
game.
right wing.
Yeah, like extreme, ridiculous.
Well, I think the same company that made the Capital Punishment game.
They did.
Yes.
It's the same dudes.
Yeah. Yep.
I've spent a lot of time on their blogs. They spent a lot of time talking about, I think they called Obama the Marxist clown, which kind of gives you a sense of, like, where their heads are at these days. I went, like, way deep back on their Facebooks.
Wow.
We played Class Struggle, which is a deeply boring game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not a game. It's like that Is the Pope Catholic game, where it's not a game. It's meant to teach you things, but there's no game to it. Like, those are very frustrating to play. What was the other one? The one with the huge board. It was a religious game.
Oh, it was a religious game made by some crazy dude, I think. I mean, maybe it wasn't crazy.
It had a really clunky title.
Is the Pope Catholic?
No, well, that we played is the Pope Catholic, which is about Catholicism, but this one is just about this kind of evangelical religion.
And it had just the board was just solid writing. There was just a constant on every
the
space.
board was
there
like
writing.
3 feet by 3 feet, and it was just covered with writing. What the hell was that called?
I don't remember.
Just did the essay.
Someone will probably remember in the comments. But here's another game that if you've never played it, you should really play it.
Oh, I've read about this one. Yeah,
that's a
this
lot of
one
fun.
seems like it's really fun. I've never played it.
It's hilarious. It's really.
It seems
good.
really fun and also depressing.
It's super depressing, especially when you get to the end. If you even make it like halfway through, which there's, it's just like life. You don't know where it's going to end, but it's funny and it's kind of like cynical, but also there's just something really amazing about it, about the commentary implicit in the game.
All the interviews he's done about it are really, really fun.
Yeah.
We've never played Magic the Gathering.
No.
Oh, did you play it with your brother?
We played it in the very second or third episode.
You and your brother
third
played
episode.
it. Okay, yeah, that was before
we played it a little bit.
Before my time.
Got bored and played video games. That's pretty much what we did in the beginning.
Mystery Date. That was one of our more popular episodes.
Which version of Mystery Date did y'all play? The original?
I think it was
the original.
Was it? I thought maybe it was an 80s version.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm not sure.
But it was the same basic game.
Yeah. I have the High School Musical version at home, which my sister bought when she was like 7. And it's just the same game except with all the characters from High School Musical, and instead of the dud, it's like the drama teacher or whatever. And I played it very recently.
We played What Shall I Be fairly recently.
That was a really old game. That was from the early 60s. Yeah.
And like you say,
when women just had 6 careers.
Yep. And the college one is like you're holding a globe and it's like, oh, she's going to be a teacher. And the other options are like nurse but hot, flight attendant but hot, like other career but hot.
But it was like
model.
But it was like a playable game. Like it wasn't really, really awful. Like
we had a lot of fun playing.
But it was actually like mildly amusing.
It's just like, you have bad posture. You can't be.
Oh yeah, there's a
flight attendant.
Yeah, it kept you from being certain careers. Yep.
That's funny stuff.
Or what was their word for when you're overweight? I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember.
There was some weird term that you'd never use now. But anyway.
We've never played Stratego?
No.
That's something. That's a
two-player
game. Yeah. Street Life, the homeless survival game.
Yeah.
Oh,
have you ever seen a copy of that?
So I have not seen a copy of that. I read a bunch about it because it comes up in a couple of the articles that I read from like the late 80s, early 90s. Ostensibly, what I learned is that this game was created by this guy who, had been sort of like houseless for a while, and he made it to sort of communicate what that experience was like. And in theory, from what I read about it, the people who worked on it and sort of they made sure that the whole production line was people who like had been houseless at various points,
right?
Which is cool. But then I couldn't find anything else about it, and I sort of am like a little bit skeptical that that's actually what it was. I really hope that it is because that sounds like a cool thing, but I just like was unable to find it.
Did you found it on eBay?
I found a copy. I think it was on eBay, and it was selling for $1,000.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I don't think we'll be playing it anytime soon on Beer and Board Games, unfortunately.
Hey, who would have thought we'd have a copy of Blacks and Whites?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that was sent to us by a fan. I actually want to credit him. He sent it to us like ages and ages ago. I've always wanted to thank him for sending it. Oh, but I'll never find this. Well, I'll look for it while you guys talk about exciting things.
God. So you are a freelance writer. You write for the AV Club. You write for Wired.
Yeah, I haven't written for Wired in a little bit, but I have done some stuff there.
And that's basically what you do.
Yep.
You went to school for journalism?
No, I did not.
Okay.
The place where I went to school sort of explicitly prides itself on not having like professional tracks. So I did philosophy and then kind of like decided one day I was like, I think I want to like write about TV, which is like insane. And kind of like my friends were like, I don't understand why you want to do that. And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to do it. And I sort of was lucky that I was going to school in Chicago, and the Onion office is in Chicago. So
Yeah, I mean, if you want to write about TV, the AV Club is the place to do it.
Yeah, and this was also like a few years ago when there were really a lot of people who were like have like crazy critic jobs now who were just sort of like grinding out episode recaps of like the second season of Modern Family or whatever.
Yeah.
And you had all these people who were like really, really talented just writing about the weirdest shows. It was just like a very, very specific moment in the like development of what TV criticism turned into. And I like spent a lot of time very drunk reading a lot of that, being like, that's cool as shit. And being like, I didn't know you could just write like 3,000 words about old episodes of the X-Files and that could be your job. And it turns out you can't actually. That was like a year's worth of like, yeah, we could get people to click on this. And now it does not happen anymore.
It's a crazy world. So Sean Henry says, shots for our hosts. Thanks for the surprise stream. A good way to end the week.
All right.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, cheers.
I will drink still.
All right.
Delicious. We played the Trump game, of course.
Someone's mailing me a
Before he
copy.
was president.
Before he was president. Yep. What I forget what you said about that.
Well, it comes up in. It actually is in the same the Washington Post article that talks about the homeless survival game, as an example of a type of gimmick game that should not be taken seriously, which I think kind of like. The implications of that feel kind of obvious, but it's like, oh, this is like a dumb game that's being branded by this guy that everyone like doesn't take seriously, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I see where that went. Yeah, so I talk a little bit about that as an example of like people doing a lot of games, especially in the mid 20th century, that are all fundamentally variations on. I've played like 2 games of Monopoly, and I have a thing I would like to say using that format, which is how you get blacks and whites, the Trump game, like class struggle, just all this stuff of people being like, I have literally never played another game, so I'm going to take this one and use it as kind of a sketching pad for my twisted views.
Yeah, for whatever your crazy viewpoint might be.
Do you encounter a lot of new board games kind of on a regular basis?
I don't as much as I used to. I played a decent amount of stuff. I'm like in a regular group in which a couple of people are designers, so I kind of like will play a lot of stuff that they'll come in with, and I'll be like, I never heard of that before, because I don't sort of like make an effort to keep up with a ton of stuff. But there definitely is some stuff, like probably the newest thing, and I think it's not even that new anymore, that I have gotten really excited about is The Mind. I don't know if y'all played that.
Yeah,
I love that so much.
Yeah, that's really cool. You're just counting down from 100?
It's like the dumbest. It's like the most simple concept, and yet it's so intense because you're just staring at everyone.
Yeah.
And you really, it's like kind of like I'm trying to think of a good example. I mean, it's just like an anime or something where you're like cutting back and forth between like 2 guys' eyes, and they get like increasingly big, and just like waiting for someone to blink. Like that's like the whole game.
It's just you have a bunch of cards in your hand, and you're trying to, with different stacks, get rid of all your cards going down to all the way down to 0.
Right.
On each stack, and there's certain limitations that make it pretty difficult.
Oh, okay. And are you trying to do it in order, like in numerical
Yeah.
order? Okay. Huh.
And you just can't talk. Like in a lot, it's like you can't talk. So you'll be like, oh, I've played, because I don't know if it like goes, but I've normally played counting up, where you'll be like, okay, someone just played 10 and I have 13, but what if someone else has 11? And then you and someone else will start to play, and then you just stare at them because you're like, I don't know what he has. I don't know if he thinks it's lower than what I have. And then that'll last for like 30 seconds before one of you finally puts the card down.
Yeah.
Haven't we played a game like that? That sounds really familiar. Like a game with that
something
kind
like
of
it.
similar mechanic,
Yeah.
where it's almost like bluffing with no words.
I'm sure we have.
Yeah.
I don't know what, though.
Well, can you think of some games that we've played on the show recently that you have particularly enjoyed, or? I can think of a couple. There was one that I actually didn't get to play because I was camping. Was that Trailer Park Wars game?
Oh, yeah. Trailer Park Wars is
that,
a really
that
fun
looked
game.
really fun, and you guys didn't really play much of it because you got a little too.
Yeah, we'd kind of reached
far
the
in the
point of no
bag.
return at that.
But I think you should hang on to that because I think we should play that like next year.
Well, they have an expansion for it.
Okay,
so we can play.
I would like to
expansion.
play that.
Sure.
It's almost like a deck building game, but you're building a trailer park, and you can put.
You each have your own circle of trailers with humorous names.
You can put amenities on your park, and you can put like disasters or things on other people's parks, and
all you're trying
that
to
looked
do,
like a lot of fun.
All you're trying to do is collect the most pink flamingos in order to win the trailer park. But there's all these people that live in your trailers that have all different characteristics, like classic trailer park characteristics. It's a pretty well done game. It's fun.
Yeah, and I also thought that Hit Z Road game was really good.
Oh, Hit Z Road's one of my favorite games of all time. You probably haven't played this either.
No, I haven't.
Fairly new.
It's a zombie travel game where you're trying to get to the West Coast, and you are encountering these different situations where you have 4
paths,
like bad paths, and you're trying to outbid the other players to get to pick the best one for you.
The easiest, the one that has the most resources and the least zombies to fight,
and where you don't get irradiated and things like that,
or betrayed by
your travel. That game was a lot of fun. I really wanted to keep playing that after we were done.
Okay, for like half a second, I thought y'all meant a zombie travel game in that like you're zombies and you're all on a road trip and you're trying to like make rest stops to like eat people.
I think you're onto something.
Like that. I mean, I think they're both. Those are like both fun. I would also play that of like just like a zombie kid being like, "Are we there yet? I want to like eat some kids."
That would be that would be a great game. Just have one zombie who's managed to maintain their instinct of being able to drive, and then they drive all the other zombies.
He gets bit like holding the steering wheel, so it's like you gotta feed him. That's like the constraint is like he can't eat for himself because his hands are just permanently on the steering wheel.
And you stop whenever you run out of gas.
Gentlemen, we've done it.
That's great. Yeah, this is the pitch session is ready.
We got a super chat from Jabasaw.
Hey, all right.
Have a drink on me, lads. Thank you for years of entertainment. All right, that is one drink.
Okay.
One shot. Who wants it?
I'll do it.
All right, Matt's going to take it. He can claim it. That's fine. I'll claim another one if there's another one. You can have the next one. Thank you. And thanks for that, Javasaw. Victory Condition Gaming says the mind is great. Oh, yes. The Crimson Cosplayer says you guys remember the child awareness game. Now,
of course we do. So this is a type of game that we really like to play on our show. It's a game that's made for parents to teach their children about safety. Mm-hmm. We've played a lot of these. Yeah. The child safety game, the safety game, Safetyville, the child awareness game, and it's always about...
Well, the child awareness game was the most about. It was the most focused on there was all these different categories, but it didn't matter if it was school, home... inside your house.
It was always stranger danger.
Yep.
And
every
stranger, no matter who they are, is dangerous.
Yeah. Your neighbor comes over and says, "I'd like to come and visit." You don't recognize them, and what do? It's just they're all like. If I played that as a kid, I would just never leave the house and never answer the door.
I'm like like you get to like the boss level, and it's like Santa's here,
but you don't recognize him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are always fun.
Oh man, there's one of those that is in a collection that I spent some time with while I was doing some research. I don't remember what it's called, but it's about pharmacology, and you sort of like have to know the signs that your friend is getting on the weed. Is sort of like the way that the rules put it. So they're like, you go to school and your friend has skipped class and his eyes are red and he says, "Hey man, I'm just trying to have like a groovy time. Like, what do you do?" And the answer and the answer to all of them is like, you gotta like be a narc and like go tell your teacher.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are made. A lot of games about stuff like that are made in like the 60s and 70s by pharmaceutical companies. So they're all like, instead of doing that, take this medication that we made.
Take these diet pills.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot of very weird stuff that's all about memorizing the names of different medications that you could potentially be on. Being like, I know what the side effects of this one are, but it's okay, I'm going to take it anyway.
We've also found like these weird kind of corporate training games where you're presented with a scenario and you have to,
Or they were 4 people at a corporation, and they
It's
were like designed
team building games and things like
one
that.
of them. I think one of them that we played was actually sort of like to make you aware of your coworkers and not like say offensive things to them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I played one like that didn't make it in the book called Harassment.
Okay.
Which is from sort of like right after or like in the middle of the Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill hearings, and the game is like there's a scenario and you read the scenario, and then there's a booklet that has the argument for why it is harassment and one that has the argument for why it isn't harassment. And instead of debating whether or not, like instead of deciding whether or not you think it's harassment, you decide whether the player who's the judge for the round will think it's harassment. And it's not fun. Well, it's kind of fun. But every time I try to get people to play it, people are like, this is literally an HR training I had to go to like 2 months ago. But the scenarios are really, like the very first one is like Anita and Clarence have been working together and their law officer.
Clarence really likes Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and I've been traveling around with that one, and it's really interesting. There's one that's like about like Jennifer Flowers. Like it really... It's a party game. It's also pitched as a party game. It's like, play this and just hang out and talk about harassment with your friends.
That's so fun.
Hey, can you find playlists on here? Because I'd like to just go through some of the playlists and figure out and get some of the names of these games we're talking about. Like season playlists?
Yeah, I could get to playlists. Here you go. Wait. Oh, yeah. Search. Okay, I changed it to playlists.
Great.
So now just find the playlist. I had a quick one I wanted to read. Oh yeah, the social skills game is a game that I've never seen anywhere, but it was at a local bar.
Mm-hmm.
The social skills game, yeah.
And it's designed to help you with social skills. And so, of course, every time we'd read you'd have this list of answers, we would just come up with the opposite answer and, choose like the most upsetting, non-good social skill answer. Matthew Goldman says the good behavior game.
Yeah.
Scruples, the ungame. Assert with love.
Assert with love, yeah. It's just taught you how to be nice to people while saying like, your breath smells, but I love you.
Boundaries, the game.
Oh, the American Girl. Hey, stop it!
Don't play music.
Ah, shit! I lost it now.
Yes, I know. I'm getting to it. Crimson Cosplayer quotes David Rodriguez from the Child Awareness episode when he said, "Y'all can't molest this."
The American Girl 300 Wishes game was surprisingly fun.
Yeah.
Did you guys get through all the wishes?
No.
How many of them did you get through?
Oh, only like
of the 300.
A quarter of them at the most.
That's like a pretty good number of wishes, though.
Yeah, but it was a surprisingly gripping game.
Okay.
Oh, that game, Two Robots, was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was just...
We built robots?
That's
Yeah,
just
that
like
was
a new Kickstarted game.
That was a really good one.
Tom Fenton says, been watching since Drunk Monopoly. Love the content. Still have the autographed poster. Have a great night, boys. Thanks, Tom. That is awesome. I don't know if you wanted anything for that or if you're just super chatting. Let us know if you do. Courtney will do it and get the information. In our Drunk Monopoly episode, I end up trying to pay the guy next to me $20 real to get him to I really go outside the boundaries of Monopoly.
No, he tried to pay you.
Yes, sorry. He tried to pay me $20 real to give him some money to stay in the game. So it got desperate. It was great.
Yeah, it gets to some real... I feel like that's just a door that if you open it, it gets very, very dark.
Yeah, and then people were trying to tell me I was taking advantage of him because he was really drunk, and I was just like, well...
Yeah, he's not as drunk as he lets him.
Yeah. But that was, I feel like that's how Monopoly should be played, just really over the top, because it's such a... I mean, it's not a game that I'll ever play again. I don't know. Do you think you'll ever play Monopoly again?
So I've actually been playing a lot of Ms. Monopoly, the new sort of...
Oh, yeah, I read your article on that, yeah.
Because they announced that like a couple months ago or however long ago it was, and I was like, damn, I can't believe I already turned in the book. But they sent me a copy, and I have played it a few times. It's just... I actually just played it today with like children for the first time, and it was actually very nice. They were like reading all the cards and being like, "Oh, I didn't know that women like invented this stuff." But the game's understanding of what it means for people to be like, "This is a cool women entrepreneur," is just buck wild. Like, the character Ms. Monopoly is a self-made investment guru who is also the niece of Mr. Monopoly, or of Rich Uncle Pennybags. So it's like, oh, he's her rich uncle, and that's how she became like a self-made investment guru. And she changes all of the railroads on the board into ride shares, where you're not tipping the people who are doing the ride shares. They probably don't have health care. And Ms. Monopoly's like, this is great. We're getting like $3 billion for our IPO. And it's just like, that's the version where they're like, you too could be Sheryl Sandberg and just like fuck over millions of people. That's great. That's what every girl should aspire to do.
That sounds, that's Monopoly for you.
Yeah, and it's like I guess it makes sense in the context of what the game is supposed to be, but I really feel like you guys could have put like a little bit more thought into it. Or they did, I guess.
Do you have more beer, or
Yeah.
do you have it there, or do you need to go grab it?
I'll go grab
Or
it.
should I go grab it?
I can grab it.
Okay.
Do you want another one, or are you good?
I'll take another one.
Okay.
Let's see here.
I also have the harassment game, but I don't know if y'all are looking to look at those scenarios.
Oh, yeah. Please.
You have it with you?
Yeah, I have a lot of them with me.
Show us what you brought. You've got a couple
Oh
of bags.
boy, yeah. So I have a couple of bags full of stuff.
Let's do it.
I think a lot of them are probably not that interesting, but Ms. Monopoly, which is the hot new shit, which really is sort of like they've replaced all of the properties with inventions by women, and it's all about patents, which is especially funny given the history of Monopoly. And then this one is harassment, which if you look at the text on the, kind of gives all the different types of harassment.
Oh, jeez.
So sexual, age, religious, gender, racial.
Ethnic.
Oh, those are the ethnic. Yeah, those are sort of the like 4 or 5 types. And it's the game that lets you be the judge.
There you go. Well, this one's been around the block a couple times.
Yeah, so I got this. I don't even remember where I got this from, but they sent it to me, and it was in sort of rough condition, but it was worth it. The sort of these are the things that are important, and they are still in very good condition. These are
The cases.
Yeah, you could pick basically any of those at random and have a good time reading it.
Okay.
What year is this from?
It's from the late 80s, if I'm not mistaken. It'll
okay.
say.
1992.
Okay.
Oh, 92. Well, same thing.
Yeah, it's the it's a like.
New cops on the block.
There was some bleed over of the 80s into the 90s.
Yeah.
Tony is a former drug dealer who has spent time in prison. He now holds down a normal job and lives in a respectable neighborhood. However, he finds himself under constant police surveillance. They write down the license number of his guests and question them for no apparent reason. The constant presence of police cars has made Tony's neighbors very uneasy toward him and his family. So what's the game? What do you discuss that?
So
or?
there is the yes book and the no book, and you read the cases for why it either would be or would not be harassment, and then one player would be the judge, and everyone has to guess whether or not the judge will think it's harassment or not.
Okay. So
And the no cases are really sort of the money, the mother load of just like, I don't know who wrote this copy, but I hope they're doing okay now.
So in the yes book, yes, although Tony cannot take back the past, he has paid his debt to society and deserves a chance to start his life over. The presence of the police is a constant reminder of his past life. Denying Tony the opportunity to establish himself to a new community is the best way to send him back to his life of crime. So he is being harassed. Or maybe not? Let's find out what No has to say.
Oh, there's 2 different. Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole.
But you have to go to each book.
You have to read both of them, and then you like discuss it. It's a party game, so
Okay.
these are really prompts for conversation.
This is great.
No, the police are trying to prevent crime in their community. This man has been a known drug dealer and therefore is suspect. Should he decide to revert to his life of crime in the new community, the police will be there first.
Cool.
Yeah, I think Tony's being harassed.
I mean, they're spending so much money too to like keep tabs on them. Just let them go commit a crime. Who cares?
Okay, well that's dumb.
We got to save money so we can, buy our medication.
I'm with you, Tony.
Yeah. So like we would have voted on what we thought, Matt, the
Yep.
judge,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get points based on.
Yep, whether or not we guessed right.
Interesting.
And that's sort of the whole game. And you have these sort of weird pegs that keep the score. I don't really know why. You'll note that there's nothing else in the box. Like, this is a big box, but this is the whole game.
That's a really big box.
Super thick, but all it is just
This is just the
It
board.
could be this much.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But they just wanted really big harassment
Yeah.
words on it.
Uh-huh.
Huh, that's weird.
It's really odd.
Is that a game that's expensive? Like, do you think we could get a copy of that?
You probably could. I think I got it for like $50.
Okay.
So yeah, it's doable.
Reasonable. That's
Yeah.
reasonable.
It was this was one of the first ones that I played for the book, and I didn't end up writing about that session. It just like didn't fit in any of the chapters. But it was I played with a lot of friends of mine, a couple friends of mine who are reporters who like cover a lot of sexual harassment cases, which was made for a very, very interesting game. Really like one of the more bizarre game sessions I've played. I think.
So what's the rarest game that you've played?
Rarest. So I can tell you the rarest one that I've sort of like looked at in the process of researching this, but I was not allowed to touch it.
Okay.
Which is a goose game from the 1750s
Oh, wow.
that a collector friend of mine, from whose collection a lot of this stuff comes, and the copy of Class Struggle I've been traveling with belongs to him. He just like has it. It's like on a parchment. And he has like a really, really deep collection. It's really amazing. And it's like spread out across a couple places, and he's sort of trying to figure out, like where would be able to house it. But he showed it to me the first day that I was helping him catalog his collection, and he's just like, this is from the 1700s. Wow. And I realized at that moment that I just had assumed there was a law where if you owned anything that like was too old, you had to give it to a museum. And I was like, oh, that's actually not the case. Like, he just has this. It's just like in his house, and we're like looking at it while we watch Monk. And like that, like you shouldn't be allowed to do that. That probably was the rarest thing that I saw in the process of writing it, but I sort of was not allowed to play it because it fell apart.
Now, when you say a goose game, what does that mean?
So it's like this old game template that I don't remember like sort of all of the history of it, but it's a very simple race game thing where you sort of are like chasing a goose, and at the end it's like and it's very simple. You like use teetotems for most of them, and you kind of like. There are a lot of different variants in sort of the same way that a lot of like Monopoly variants are like, this is a Monopoly with a different skin, but it's like, this is a goose game that's about this thing. Huh. And it was like a very popular format in sort of like the 18th century, and I think a little bit before too. Have you a rare one?
What was that game that we got that was really old? The Peter Cottle game?
Yeah, the Peter Cottle goes to Chicago or whatever.
He went to Chicago, wasn't it? It's this game. It's basically like proto Mad Libs, and this guy
Early 1900s.
Peter Cottle is this rube who goes to the big city, and there was this booklet of little stories with blanks, and you had these little slips of paper with different nouns and things on them, and then you would when your part of the story came, you would take one of these pieces of paper and fill in the blank with it.
I think I maybe saw. I think my friend has this. He has so much stuff that I just had never seen. I don't think I've ever he has this. I don't know if y'all have seen this. He has a collaborative game that's about teaching children about the ideas and work of Malcolm X. And you it's like a really early collaborative game, and you sort of go through these like 3 levels of enlightenment and understand the ways in which the man is trying to keep you down on each level. And like it's shockingly complex. Like, you open the rule book and it says like, there's a lot of differing opinions about what Malcolm X's work means, and he changed his mind on a lot of issues, and we're sort of trying to give you a broad survey. And it's like, that's a really, really sort of thoughtful way of presenting all these quotes in the context of this game. And I spent a lot of time trying to get people to play it with me, but like there were too many cards I would have.
Oh man,
because my friend
I would play that.
Right, it's like a really interesting and like yeah, there was like a lot of thought put into that one.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of things like that he just has that I sort of will like be looking at and be like, this is incredible. I can't believe you have that. And he's like, oh yeah, I just got that like 20 years ago. I don't know. It's been in like a bag since then. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's cool.
Oh,
Well-
man, I'd love to play that Goose Game.
Yeah.
I
Well,
should
you
go
know,
back
the
and watch
problem
that.
with Peter Cottle for us was while we were playing the game, we would like use the little pieces of wood,
It would just
of paper, and they would
disintegrate.
disintegrate in our hands
Yeah.
because it was so old. Like
Well, it was so old
we were
that-
able to play through it.
We got it really cheap on
Yeah.
eBay. It
Yeah.
was not
It was like a few
expensive at
bucks.
all.
And then it just all like
It just fell apart.
it was a one-time play because then it all decayed right after we played it.
But the video will live forever.
Yeah. And plus, but it was really fun because you're taking all these archaic words and filling in the blank with hilarious archaic words that we don't use anymore. And then we went ahead and combined it with Cards Against Humanity, of course.
Oh, that yeah,
Because
that's right. We did do
Was,
that.
you know, it's like the same game, basically. It was Peter Cottle against humanity.
Peter Cottle went to Chicago and he saw a big black dick. Which
Exactly.
Yeah, they
A
got.
classic.
But-
What's your opinion of Cards Against Humanity?
I played it a lot in college. I feel like it very much is the type of thing that, like, at least for me, you play it a few times and you're like, okay, like, I think I get this. Because also a lot of the humor is just like, this is a thing that is shocking.
Right.
And it's like, at a certain point, I think that the combination sort of ceased to be, at least for me, sort of ceased to be entertaining. But I do really like I really appreciate, like, what those dudes do. Like, I think it's really cool that they just were like, yeah, this game that we did not expect to be, like, incredibly successful is, like, very successful. And now we're going to sort of, you know, have people develop things in our space and, like, help design, like, you know, Secret Hitler and all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And just, like, I think it's really cool. I think I probably would not go out of my way to play it now, but I'm glad that sort of they, like, have been able to prosper.
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
way
a
that they
huge
have.
launching pad for them to do all kinds of stuff. Like, yeah, it's pretty amazing what they've done. It's a gas. Josephine is a plumber and works with several men. These men have raised the act of belching to an art form. Although this playful exchange of gastric emissions delights the participants, Josephine is totally disgusted. When she complains, they offer to give her belching lessons so she can be one of the guys.
Is
Interesting.
this harassment?
Well, let's find out. The case against. It's a guess. No, Josephine is not being made an outcast by her colleagues. She is being invited into what appears to be a happy crew of productive workers. Although belching is a somewhat unusual form of communicating, the guys are not maliciously aiming this activity at Josephine, but simply trying to include her in the fun. And the other side, yes, not only is belching in the presence of others rude, but it makes Josephine uncomfortable. She has been placed in a position where she must both accept and perform something distasteful in order to fit into her work environment.
Nah, I don't buy that.
Yeah, I actually think maybe I'm gonna get canceled for this. I think this is a no. I mean, I think it depends, right? I feel like this is the kind of situation where, like, if you pose it and people are jokingly like, oh, well, we'll teach you how to do it, and she's like, oh, okay, and, like, that's fine. I think there has to be one sort of additional level of boundary setting of, like,
Yeah.
no, this actually is making me really uncomfortable, and then you sort of should stop doing
Like,
it. At this level...
In order for you to join our belching, we have to push you down on the floor violently to teach you how to do it.
And I think it's one thing if she's like, I would just prefer that you guys don't do this around me, and they're like, all right, and then they just kind of go off on, like, their lunch break. And they're sort of doing, like, a
They
little...
go find like a soundproof room.
Yeah, they're, like, recording a podcast while they're in there.
The belching sound.
Yeah,
podcast.
they're like, we're the Belchers, and then people are like, no, that's actually from Bob's Burgers. You can't steal that. Like,
She knows it's just the gateway into like farting and, you know, all kinds of other horrible behavior. She
Yes.
doesn't want
Explosive diarrhea.
explosive diarrhea on the job site.
Come on, we'll teach you how to do it. It's easy.
you like coffee?
I really
right.
wanna
Well,
play this.
there.
I wanna
That's
play this.
harassment.
Yeah, I
harassment
think
sounds
we could.
like
Yeah,
fun.
it's interesting. I watched at one of the events that I did, a family played it. There's two people and their child. I did not get to listen to it as closely as I would have liked. but I'm very interested about the conversations they had about it on the way home.
Yeah.
I feel like you could start a real fight in a marriage with that. Just like the dad's be like, I don't think this is harassment at all.
I think they should be able to belch freely. I mean,
Yeah.
they're plumbers.
And they're both sort of like, son, like, what do you think? And he's just like, I don't want to get involved. Like, y'all are going to be fighting again. I'm going to just go play Fortnite.
And then, but what Dad is really saying, he's just like, well, I want to be able to belch around the house freely. And then, Mom is just like, no, it's really disgusting, and you can't do that. And so they divorce because they played harassment.
That's an interesting scenario you spun for us.
Play that. A game of divorce. I think that actually exists.
A game of divorce?
Yeah, there is a game that's
yeah.
like a game, game
Definitely.
of divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
wait.
Yeah, I've never played it, but I've seen it in a couple
Did
places.
we play a divorce game?
I think maybe we
Something.
did.
I feel like Mike Essercon was sitting next to me, and we were like, getting.
yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
Something about divorce. Anyway.
Like a sort of like an anti-fog of love.
Yeah.
Where you're like going through the divorce and trying to like win the divorce by having like a hotter rebound.
By crushing your opponent.
Yeah, where you're like you're like collectively telling the story, but the story is like I have sole custody and like I live in a bigger house and like
You get nothing.
yeah. I would play that.
That
Would be like
yeah.
I would actually be pretty fun. Just where you're like there's like a third person in the room who has to like decide who gets custody at the end. That's a dark role-playing scenario, and I would be really into it.
The title of the episode is just Divorce Game. That can't be right.
Well, it's probably titled something really weird.
Hey guys, it's like 20
Don't watch. Turn it down, Matt. Oh.
It's just an ad.
Yeah, but you never know what we'll get flagged for.
Welcome to
There you
Board
go.
Games, folks, where we will help you navigate the tricky waters of divorce as we play the Changing Family game.
Oh, the Changing Family game. They gave it a nice name. That's right.
Oh, that must have been. Oh, that's like probably for kids,
Yeah.
where they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay." Like, oh,
Folks, where we will help
that's kind of nice, actually.
There's really no way to sort of soften the blow. Even this game really didn't. Like, I don't think it helped at all.
Yeah, all just like every single card says like it's okay. They like your parents both still love you, and you just like keep drawing them, and they all say that.
Every card is just like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's
Aw.
not your fault.
That's sad.
Well, that's what the board looks like, or the box looks like. The Changing
Aw.
Family Game. Yeah, there it is. I don't remember how
Wow.
to play that.
So here's Ms. Monopoly. The first game where women make more than men. Whoa! Look at this. Now women can crush everyone and make the most money.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
It really. It's just such a specific idea of like what it means to be a successful woman. You'll know her coffee cup says boss on it. She's wearing a t-shirt under a blazer, so you know that she's good at business, but also can keep it cash.
Sure, yeah.
One of the playing pieces is her private jet, which is how she like gets around to sort of all her meetings. Just like great. That's exactly like that's sort of what I picture when I think of successful women.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no different than successful men at all. It's the
Yeah,
exact
it's like
same.
it's just like be shitty in exactly the same way, and that's success.
Make that money.
That's politics, baby. We've successfully solved the problem. Your boss is now a woman who will exploit you in exactly the same way.
Yeah, exactly. Just so you know, this is what we're drinking currently. It's an English-style IPA. Gatecrasher.
It's pretty good. Not as good as the last one, but it's good.
It's good. It's definitely
Nonetheless.
good. English-style ale.
Do we have any comments from the folks that we want to read? Anything
Yes, always.
coming in?
Mr. Bear Piero says, now women can dominate a cold capitalist dystopia.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of like, this is me. I can't tell if this is going to be like a too specific an online reference, but I think all the time about this tweet that got deleted. That's like Republicans like we've created like prison camps for Muslims, and then it's like liberals hire more women guards. And that's the iteration of political success in this scenario. Is like we still have the camps, but some of the guards are women now.
Oh yeah, that's the compromise.
And you see it like that just all the time. It's just like we did it. Like this is what you can aspire to. Like in this dystopia.
Oh, we played. Sam Dean says the Joel Osteen Your Best Life Now game.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Does it end with you mailing money to Joel Osteen? Because I feel like that's like the natural conclusion.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
would
recall
think.
us doing that.
I don't think that we ended up doing
Okay.
that. I just
I
remember
think
we were.
that's another one of those games that's not really a game.
No.
You're just
Yeah.
kind of like, I would play a version of that based on the Righteous Gemstones too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Righteous Gemstones is good. I
That's
need to
a great show.
keep watching that.
Adam Devine, unbelievable. He has like a great youth pastor energy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's good in everything. Yeah, like I need to catch up on that and then get ready to watch his Dark Materials, which is coming out on November 3rd.
Yeah.
Is that HBO?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do want to see that.
And then once that's done, HBO's gonna have to find a new reason to keep me.
You know, not on
me on
Watchmen.
Oh, I haven't tried Watchmen. Is
I
it good?
watched the first episode. I thought it was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I should watch it. I heard a lot about it.
Well,
honestly.
it's it takes place 25 years after the comic book, so
Mhm.
and you see all the ways that the world has changed, and I thought it was pretty good.
That's
yeah,
cool.
I liked it.
Okay. I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. This is sort of in my other like work area. I am covering every episode of that for Polygon.
Oh, okay.
It's really, really good. I went into it and was like, this is either going to be the best thing or like absolutely terrible. And I totally understand why people don't want to watch it because it's like, oh, the guy who made The Leftovers and the guy who worked on Lost has decided to make this TV show that's about racism in America. And like, he totally is the right person to do that. But it slaps very hard, and it took me a while to admit that to myself, but it's really, really, really good. The whole time, it just feels like the whole thing is going to fall apart. But the jokes are really good. Like, they're just, like, make a lot of jokes about Robert Redford being president, because they're just like, yeah, Robert Redford is president now, and he, like, did reparations, and, like, this is what the world looks like now.
Redford rations.
Yeah, Redfordation. There's no, like... And there are, like, people picketing, like, outside of, like, cultural history museums, because they're like, it's unfair that people get reparations, like, that's bullshit. And, like, it really... And it also does a thing that I really love of, like, making all of the people who like love Rorschach like a gang of like white supremacist terrorists.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And it's like
Because he was in the comic, he's a pretty right wing.
yeah, he just
it makes sense.
And people like will go in and be like, yeah, this is the moral center of this book. Like he's like the best character. And it's like, I don't know about that. Like he literally starts the thing and is like probably homosexual. Like like
right. Do you know? You probably don't know this. Maybe you do. Does Redford? Is he actually going to show up in the show
yes,
as the president? Oh,
he
that's
is.
great.
Really?
So he is not. I've seen the first couple episodes. He's not in those, but he's listed as like I think he will be in it at some point.
Okay. I was hoping that would happen.
Yeah, they're
That's
withholding. Cool. I mean, they even have like Henry Louis Gates plays himself as the Treasury Secretary, which is very funny. And they make a lot of references, like Ezra Klein, who like founded Vox as the press secretary in this world for some reason in the White House. And a lot of those people just like show up. But there's a lot of stuff I think that they're saving for the last couple episodes. Like Dr. Manhattan has not showed up yet, but I'm really hoping he's played by Justin Theroux.
Well, we see him. He's on the moon.
Yeah, he's on Mars. Yeah, he's on Mars.
Yeah.
I really hope it's Justin Theroux. I really hope it's Justin Theroux playing Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, I really liked the first episode. I was.
So I don't want to derail it. Just like
Excited
it's been I haven't been this excited to like actively write about a TV thing in a while.
That's
Really, there's a lot of like meat to it.
Did you? What did you think of Chernobyl?
I haven't watched Chernobyl. Everyone has been real hyped about it, and I just like haven't gotten around to it. I don't know. It seems good. Feel like I'll probably come out of it and be like, that was depressing and like very accurate about a lot of the ways that like
It's intense. It's pretty intense.
yeah,
but,
state apparatus.
I don't know. I was really, I felt like even though not all of it's super accurate, like there's almost nothing that I saw in that I knew about. So just learning like what actually happened with that whole thing, and how close it came to being like even a bigger disaster than it was is kind of amazing.
I hope that's how I feel about his Dark Materials. I'm like, I didn't know all this stuff about daemons. Like, that's crazy. Damn, I want my soul to like be a fucking dog. Like, good timing. They put it out like right as he's putting out the new book. Like,
Oh, I didn't know he's putting out a new
yeah, he
book.
just did. It's in my backpack. He put out the
Really?
second Book of Dust book. Yeah,
Oh.
but it's a sequel.
Okay.
Lyra is like 20 in this one, and she's gotten very into his Dark Materials version of Ayn Rand. That's not a joke.
Oh.
That like sounds like a joke, but that is in fact the premise of the book.
Interesting.
And she just is like very depressed and like an angsty 20-year-old, and like she and Pan like hate each other now. And it's like a metaphor for her being like depressed and having like adolescent self-hatred, which is like very cool. I like would not have expected the metaphor to work that way, and it actually like I'm like 50 pages in. It's working quite well.
That's cool. Yoga Beginner, he was talking about the Walkman.
Watchmen?
Sorry, Watchmen.
The Walkman is a band.
Yes, the Walkman is a band. About Watchmen, which I'm definitely going to watch now. On HBO.
That's true. I see the comment about my head looking like a bobblehead. I've gotten that before. I understand. My neck is just like not quite on the right way. I think I like grew up sort of with a certain level of like turkey neck from looking at my phone, and it just sort of now keeps moving.
Well, you've got a good energy level, and that's appreciated.
I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick.
All right, have fun.
Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun.
So, what else are you doing on this tour? Like, do you actually get to play some games with people?
Well, it depends on how many people are coming to the events. So a lot of it is sort of like I set up all the games. People will come who have a varying level of familiarity with them, and then I kind of will like dart around making sure people are playing stuff right. Because especially like the rules of Class Struggle are not very clear. The rules of the Grizzled are like clear but kind of difficult to grasp, especially if you don't play a lot of games.
Right. Yep.
And then there's a lot of other stuff where people will come and be like, I've played like a lot of Monopoly, and I sort of will have to explain stuff like, you know, even like sort of Pandemic or something. And it just kind of will be like me running around between a bunch of different tables and people being like, I have a question. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm coming over. And making sure everyone is successfully playing stuff. So I don't get to play that much, but mostly I sort of will help facilitate other people playing things and then just ask people to talk about it when they're done.
Okay.
And that kind of segues into the Q&A part of the events, because I'll just be like, what was it like playing, you know, like Class Struggle or Harassment or sort of whatever game that you played, like how did that feel, and sort of how did it relate to any of the other stuff that we talked about sort of at the beginning. And that's been super fun. It's been really interesting to sort of like see what people take away from a lot of those games, especially
Right.
people who like don't think that hard. Like I think this probably is like a very different environment where like everyone thinks very hard about a lot of the stuff that they play, or like at least is super familiar with a lot of the games. And with this, it's a lot of people who like have a familiarity with a lot of games but don't think about them quite in the same way, and you get to sort of watch people developing their own language to talk about how they felt about something like the Grizzled in real time, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's been really fun.
That is cool.
That game rocks.
Yeah, I can't get enough of that game.
I have not played the Armistice version yet, but
Oh, there's another version.
yeah, it's like a campaign.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I have not played it, but apparently it's very intense.
We can talk about a lot about legacy games too in the book, and I've only played a few. I actually haven't played the legacy version of Pandemic, but I've played Time Stories.
Yep.
Which is it's just like sort of like a TV show almost. It's like you're doing an episode every time you sit down to play the game, and then you can only do it once. It's like because then you know what happens.
Yeah, I try to play Time Stories. The concept is really cool. I don't know. I feel bad. Like, if people like are really into Time Stories, like, that's cool, because I really like the concept. But I found it really difficult to play, and it has very little replay value. And I feel like the only way it would work would be if you and a bunch of friends all bought, like, one of the things, and so everyone only had, like, a $20 investment or whatever it was.
Oh yeah,
instead
that's
of the,
that's
like,
how we did it. Yep.
Yeah.
Like I think I bought the game, and then we took turns buying expansions. So because it is kind of expensive.
And it just, otherwise, it's like, yeah, I think that's like the only way that it would have worked, and I just like did not have people around who wanted to do it. That one seems cool, and I wish I had played more of it. I will say, like, the first season of Pandemic Legacy, I think is the most fun I've had with any sort of, like, gameplay experience. It just is, like, really well paced. It changes the rules of Pandemic in a way that really, like, puts you off balance, but in a way that is, like, very justified. The game, like, fucks you over at various points, but it does it for, like, decisions that you made. So it feels very much like, yeah, I deserve this. Like, I made these decisions, and now the game is punishing me for it. And it really has a good sense of sort of, like, full campaign pacing in a way that I have not seen replicated in a ton of other stuff. And it really just sort of got to the point where by the end of it, my roommate and I were just, like, holed up in our living room in the dark, like, playing Cliff Martinez soundtracks, being like, shit, like, if we don't, like, plan these, like, 8 moves ahead, like, we're gonna lose Cairo and, like, whatever other, you know... And it was just really, really intense, and people kept coming in and out of the house being like, the fuck are you guys doing? And, like, neither of us had shaved in, like, several days. And we were just like, if we don't get this done, like, we're going to lose. Like, the whole world's going to get destroyed. And, like, we were really bought in.
Yeah.
I think in a way that it's, like, increasingly hard for me to be bought in on stuff.
So the story was there.
Yeah, it's there. It's very simple, but it's simple in a way where it, like, hits a lot of expected beats, but in a way that is, like, very fun and that sort of invites you to be part of creating the story, which I think is super cool.
I really want to play that. That sounds awesome. For those of you who had joined late or just joined, we're talking to Eric Thurm. Book on board games came out recently. You also, we'll talk about this in a second, because before I forget, I wanted to ask you about...
You sound like a talk show host.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing talk show host.
You're doing a good job.
I'm doing talk show host.
For those of you who are just joining us, we're here with these guys. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that in a minute.
But first, we're going to take a bit of the Drunk TED Talks is another thing that he worked on. It's not called that anymore. It's called
Drunk Education.
Drunk Education.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that though in a second.
Did the TED Talk people come after you?
They did.
They did.
Tell us the story, but first I want to tell you all that we are giving away 2 copies of this book. I will send it to you personally myself. Both copies to different people. It's a really good read.
I think at this point we only have 2 people in the running.
Yes, but I'm going to change the qualifications. If you super chat $5 or any amount that divides that 5 goes into, you're going to get an entry. So anyone who paid like 20 already is getting 4 entries.
Okay. Yes.
It's going to increase it. So you
I got it.
Super chat 5, PayPal it, whatever you want to do. There's PayPal information in the description. That's how we're going to do it. So
you could win a book.
Yeah.
And you can read it and improve your mind.
It's a great value. I think if they were charging $25 for it, I would feel uncomfortable going out telling people to buy it. $15, great value. Really good afternoon of sitting in a hammock.
Yeah. And if you're in Wisconsin, you'll have to sit in the hammock inside your house, or you can wait until next summer.
So are there any types of games or game trends that you don't like or are sick of or you think are kind of passé?
Man, I feel like this is the... no, because it's not quite the same scale, but I feel like this is the version of, like, damn, here's a celebrated film director. I'm asking what he thinks about Marvel. I think this is a personal taste thing. I really don't like hit and roll games. I don't like sort of like social deduction, but it's not because I don't appreciate the skill set. It's just because I'm a terrible liar and I don't like
yelling.
You're talking
games like Werewolf?
Yeah, like Werewolf, Secret Hitler, kind of like the closest I get to liking that kind of game is the official Battlestar Galactica board game, which does rule because it's like this weird blend of cooperative at first, and then halfway through the game, like half of the players discover that they're Cylons.
You have to figure out who the Cylons are.
Yeah, well, you have to figure out who the Cylons are, but you don't necessarily know if you're one at the beginning. So you could be playing really well, and then be like, damn, I screwed myself over, because the humans are in a really good position, and I didn't know I was a Cylon. Right.
Yeah.
That game's super fun.
Those kind of games, like, they kind of just stress me out. I just feel like stressed while I'm playing them, and I don't enjoy them that much. The one exception I will say, and this was a good game we played recently on Beer and Board Games, is called Wolves of Mercia. Or Wolves of Mercia. And
it's a variant on the Werewolf game. It's got more complications to it.
But the deduction aspect is not stressful. Like, you just sort of have your own thing that you're doing. You don't have to, like, worry about, like, who might be on your team and stuff like that. It was more of a a personal thing, so I felt like I had way more fun playing it. Than
Well,
I
and
do
also
with
in that game, you have a goal. Your goal is not just to figure out who the werewolf is. Your goal is to do whatever your thing is.
Yeah, you're actually
And
just trying to win by completing your goal.
You're
yeah.
trying not to get in the werewolf's way. And there's other people who have nefarious purposes other than the werewolf. There's an arsonist who's trying to burn down the village.
There is
Yeah.
there is in like the ultimate werewolf version, there are some characters that are fun. My favorite one, I don't remember what exactly the job is. It's like you make pants, or I don't remember what it is. Cobbler maybe? No, it's tanner. And your objective is to die. And so
yeah.
you have to like convince the other players that you're the werewolf, but if you're too obvious about it, they'll know that you're the tanner and then they won't kill you.
It's kind of like the jester or something too.
That
where
stuff is fun.
Your goal is to lose.
I do know, and I know that there's a legacy version of werewolf, but I don't understand how it works. I don't get what that would look like. But apparently it exists because it's like, this is a thing that's popular and this is another thing that's popular, so we're going to kind of smash them together.
Maybe during the game you try to find, a wife or a mate and have children, and then those children are the ones that...
That is what you do in Betrayal Legacy, which I have not played, but
Really?
I have in my house. Yeah, the concept of
That's
Betrayal
funny.
Legacy, which I maybe will start soon because I've had it for like a year and just haven't started it, is that the house, it starts in like the 1600s or something. It's like the witch, and the house is like a one-room shack, and every successive game is like the next generation of the families in this like haunted New England town or whatever.
okay.
And the house gets like bigger of its own volition over the course of the campaign, and like that's cool.
That's
a
pretty cool.
fun concept for a legacy game where it
Yeah.
like takes the base mechanic of Betrayal and then is like, here's how we make this last for like 15 games, and also why it keeps getting more complex. I think that's super cool. But I also am very intimidated by putting in the like 4 months to play it or however long it
Right,
takes.
yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. The limited time thing. Okay, so what is Drunk TED
Oh, boy.
Talks, now known as Drunk Education?
So many years ago, I don't even remember exactly why this happened. A couple of friends and I were making fun of the TED Talks that were going to be given on our college campus. And then we just like went through a bunch of titles of real TED Talks and we're like, this is all bullshit and insane, and we could do a better job of this. And so then we threw a party where we were like, the theme of the party is Drunk TED Talks, and you're going to come and people will sort of give talks about stuff that they're interested in. And a lot of people did not. People thought it was a joke, which I understand. And they showed up to my house, and I was like, no, there are like 30 chairs out here, and you have to sit in one of them and listen. Which is, I think, a common experience of people being disappointed at my parties. But people did some really cool shit. There were some really interesting talks at that first one, and then we just sort of did the parties regularly, and the things that people talked about got like increasingly complicated.
Yeah, so like what's an example?
So it depends. I can give you an example of one of the ones people did during that era, and then it sort of like when I started doing it as like an actual event, it became like slightly more professional and like the topics changed a little bit. Because I sort of like moved to New York and I was like, shit, I don't have any friends, but maybe I can sort of flatter people into being my friend by asking them to do this event that seems fun. And then just like a lot of people got really into it and it kind of escalated. And then I made a joke at one of them where I said like, all right, this was also like 4 or 5 years ago, keep in mind. I said, okay, like if I do this for 6 months and people keep coming, I'll do one that's like an entire fake academic conference about Kanye. And people kept coming, so I did it. And then at that one, I made a joke where I was like, I guess I'm going to do one that's a fake academic conference about Kim Kardashian. And then people came to that one too. And it just kind of like, I kept making stupid jokes and expecting people to not go along with them. And then they kept going along with them. And then I ended up doing that for like 4 years or 5 years. The topics are really different. One of my favorite ones was a history. The theme of the event was about work. And it was about the history of the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. And it was about, which you would think is not funny. And it's not, sort of. But it's about, the talk was about all of these young women who worked in the factory and were part of this like early garment workers union. And how sort of if the bosses had listened to them, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire wouldn't have happened. But it ended up being really funny because it was about sort of the working conditions of these women and the fact that they were all really interesting people.
What? And they all got stuck?
Yeah, they were all stuck in the factory.
Doors were locked.
Because the doors were locked,
I just read about this.
Yeah.
Today.
Really?
It was in a Stephen King story.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, and people were like jumping out the window. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's really horrible, and it's a good sort of example of like terrible workplace conditions.
I didn't know that it was an actual thing. I thought he made it up.
No, it's a real, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it was like a really smart talk about the history of like why this thing happened that was also hilarious. And people came away from it and were like, I did not expect to find it funny when people would talk about the Triangle Showbase fire. Someone did one a few years ago when it sort of was more in vogue to talk about like mansplaining as a concept. And somebody did one called Love #Actually, and it was an explanation of the history of mansplaining using subplots from the movie Love Actually, of which I think my favorite part was in which my friend took the sort of like beginning of the Bible in which God names Adam man and then Adam names Eve woman. And was just like, this is the first like biblical instance of man, of like Eve like exists, and Adam is like, your name is woman, and Eve is like, I guess, I don't know, like sure, I guess I'm here now. And there was a lot of really good stuff like that where you kind of either take a topic that's like very serious and like academic and do it in a way that is very silly and easy to grasp onto, or the reverse where it's like, this is a really silly and sort of like pop culture topic, and we're going to treat it in a way that has a lot more depth and like get something out of it. And also there are like visual slide jokes because everyone loves like a good slide joke. And that
PowerPoint presentations. Mm-hmm. So you're still doing it?
So I sort of am on sabbatical a little bit. I did it for a while, and then I sort of started doing it in other cities, and I was like traveling a lot and doing too many shows. Because also it's like normally when people do touring stuff like this, they'll like travel with the same people, or you like do the same set if you're like doing comedy or something, and like every show is different. And I was like, I can do that, and it turned out that I couldn't, which is pretty normal, I think. But I did that for a while, and I kind of am at a point now where I'm trying to figure out like what I want to do with the format, because there's stuff I really like about it, and I sort of want to see if I can do it in ways that are a little bit more like broadly engaging. So like in a couple years ago, I did a show that was like Shark Tank themed, where I sort of had people pitching what they thought was like a very important political issue for people to get involved in, which is like sort of the thing where like immediately it sounds like, oh no, this is about to get very alarming and sincere. But the talks were really funny, and they were sort of like, this is why I think people should be involved in climate work. This is why I think people should do like immigration work. And it was really funny. And the way that people voted was by like signing up to get involved with different groups. And you sort of like created the situation where almost any time you go to something that is like a fundraiser or sort of like a whatever political event, it's like very lame and not fun, because I think the skill set that you have to be good at that work is like very serious. And I kind of was like, I'm good at bullshit. Like, I feel like I could do bullshit that like gets people to do work that feels important. And I sort of am like in the process of figuring out what that looks like.
That's interesting. So actually making like politics or issues like not horrible and depressing.
Yeah, of just figuring out sort of like, what does it look like to sort of be active in a way where it's like not only a thing that you feel bad about because like it sucks and it's bad, and it's sort of like, I don't know, I think if you like care about stuff, you have to kind of be able to like have fun like thinking about it, and like have sort of like all the other aspects of your life like be, kind of like involved in some way.
That's good. I like that a lot, actually. That's kind of, it's not, because like politics is it's so fraught. It's so fraught. Mm-hmm. Like having fun talking about issues sounds like awesome. Random Minds super chatted and said, drunk TED Talks sounds like one of my late nights at the bar after trivia. With that much alcohol, everyone's an expert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a big... Everyone loves it. Man, people used to be real drunk, too. Part of the problem with the show getting bigger was that I sort of, like, stopped being able to, like, bully people into doing a lot of shots right before they went on stage. which is
Well,
probably
depending on how often they have to do it, yeah.
it was like probably for the best, but there definitely was a period where I would like make people come to my apartment before the show, and I would be like, "You guys like Fireball? Too bad." And you know, everyone would just sort of like head over to the bar and just be very like, "Well, guess I'm gonna talk about Courtney Love for a while." And they're
Like I do.
well, that one was really good. That was a really, really good one. That was like a friend of mine who like is very obsessed with Courtney Love and like knows a lot about her. And I like did not know that much about her and came out of it like, cool, interesting. Like I know a lot about Courtney Love now, which is one of the other things that was.
So
cool
it was a
about
good
running
take.
the
It
show.
wasn't a like conspiracy take. It was like
No.
It was okay.
It was a really good and sort of like interesting. I don't remember exactly what the argument was, but her thesis was about Courtney Love's music almost entirely being like about cheese somehow. And it was like the kind of thing that you would see in like an unverified Genius comment where someone's like, yo, I got this theory and like I really think it holds water, but she did a really good job with it and it was very funny.
Her band is called Hole. Swiss
Yep.
cheese has
No,
holes
exactly.
in it.
That was like a big part of
I'm
it too.
seeing it already.
Yeah, right. It's just like you got like the whole cork board up, like you know, like it's all there. It's like the fucking like Pepe Sylvia meme. But yeah, it's like a lot of stuff like that, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know that much about, and now, you know, it's not something that I know like a ton about, but where I'm like, I totally get why people like this. And I think that's like a really cool, I really like knowing that much about things where it's like, even if I don't have the time or energy to get really into something, I understand why this community exists and it's cool that people like are involved in it.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna read some comments. Luis has to go back to work. Good luck, Luis. Thank you for joining us as long as you could. Who is Chronic says, I love you guys. My first episode was Apples for Apples, and you opened me up to another side of YouTube. Glad we could do that.
Apples for apples? Apples for apples?
Oh, yeah, Apples for Apples. I read it right.
Apples to apples.
Well, you know, it could be 4 apples, too.
It could be.
Sam Dean says, MC Hammer's Wrap Around game.
Oh, I
The
want
game
to play it
where you wrap
immediately.
twin. Wow. That sounds amazing.
That's like we played the Vanilla Ice Rap game.
Yeah.
We've not played
I didn't know there was an
Hammer.
MC Hammer Wrap Around.
Oh my god! And I saw in your
Wraparound.
game Mr. T, the game. Did you play that?
I did play it. A friend of mine sent it to me for my birthday,
Any
which is
good?
very nice of him.
Is it good?
No.
No, it's terrible.
I mean, so it's not. It's based on the Mr. T Hanna-Barbera cartoon in which Mr. T is the coach of a children's basketball team.
Yeah, and he's always
So if you don't know that,
teaching them lessons.
Well, it's not even about knowing that. It's just that, like, the game was like, we're going to make a game that's, like, based on this cartoon and just kind of, like, rush it into production. So it's not, like, about anything. Although I would be very curious to know if the Vanilla Ice or MC Hammer games require you to, like, actually rap in order to
Oh,
win
the
game.
Vanilla Ice game was rapping.
it has a microphone that you press a button
Battery
and
operated.
it plays a beat.
Yep.
And you're supposed to rap what you put on the
Like
thing.
it creates the rhymes for you, so it makes it.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of foolproof, but
So it's like the opposite of, there's like a Jackbox game that's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Where you write the raps and then the robots like perform them.
Dude,
for
yeah,
you. The
I
robots
played
with the British
that, yeah.
accents,
And then
yeah.
I believe that YouTube demonetized that game because of the microphone, because of the sound of the
oh,
microphone.
the beats,
Yeah.
really? Oh,
Well, because that video is demonetized.
yeah, I suppose that's probably it.
I don't know.
Illegal Vanilla Ice beats.
Did
You know,
you-
he's got to make his money somehow.
Did you see that Key and Peele sketch with Mr. T? It's the funniest fucking thing. You got to see it. Have you seen what?
I must have, but because I've watched that whole show, but I don't remember.
Mr. T shows up and teaches kids lessons, but
Oh wait, I think I did see that.
it's
a
really
long
just
time
it's
ago.
all about his own issues. It's
Yes.
very funny.
I think a lot about the Reginald VelJohnson Key and Peele sketch.
Oh,
The one with where
the
Urkel
Urkel
is,
one.
yeah.
Yes,
I
Oh,
did
yeah.
True West of Sherman Helmsley. God damn it!
It's like, oh my God, Stefan, I'm so sorry.
Random Minds
Oh, we got another
says,
super chat.
when the day is done, I just start streaming all of their episodes and end up with really messed up dreams. That's the goal. Julius says this show has saved me in great times of loneliness and stress. Thank you, Julius. Poitin Pimp says, Hair Aaron.
It doesn't say
No, it
here.
says, hey, Aaron, a shot of the best.
That's this?
That is the best I have in the house.
Ooh, Lefroy Select.
Lafraid. It took me years to learn how to pronounce it properly as well.
I will pronounce it how I please.
I know you will, but it will be wrong.
And that's how I like it.
Poitin Pimp, you have 6 entries into the contest. Courtney, did you hear when I changed the rules?
It smells like an old rubber tire. You like this kind of stuff?
I used to, and then I think I would have needed to force myself to try to like it for longer.
Yeah.
What do you do? When you're not drinking beer, what's your favorite tipple? As they used to say in the old days. Cocktails? You like any cocktails? Wine? Are you a wine drinker?
Yeah. So I used to be my like show drink of choice used to be whiskey gingers because you could just keep drinking them,
Right.
and I would sort of like remain sugar high and be able to host the show. And I recently have gotten very into Palomas, which I really like. It's like the tequila grapefruit, where it's just a sort of like I'm gonna sit and like
It's
really
like
feel
it's
like
a Greyhound with tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I'm really glad I'm just gonna sit and like, and I'm gonna enjoy this and sit outside. And then for a while, there was a period where my roommate decided that she was gonna make really perfect the art of making old fashions, and so she made them every day, and I was sort of the designated
Muddling.
I was the designated taste tester.
That's great.
Until I like got home and was like, it's perfect. You finally done it. And I just like every day for like a month or two. So I sort of like briefly developed a very intense taste for them, and then I was like, this is too much. I gotta get a little bit of a rest.
Does a Paloma have a salted rim or?
No.
Okay, so it's not like a salty dog.
Coming soon to beer and board games. That reminds me, Courtney, what's that stuff called?
Tubi?
Tubi 60.
I don't know what those words mean.
It's a liquor from Jerusalem.
Ooh.
And it's
Holy Land.
An elixir as well.
It's an elixir. And a friend of ours heard some college women on the bus raving about it and how it makes you feel
The
happier.
Jerusalem bus?
No, I don't think so. She wasn't on the Jerusalem bus, was she?
She was on the campus.
She was on the campus bus. And
The campus bus.
the campus bus.
About how this makes you happy.
It makes you like, it gives you a different kind of drunk feeling.
Okay.
And apparently it's very popular over there.
But no
And-
hangovers, supposedly.
And supposedly, we'll see about that. But I've ordered some, so
Oh.
it should
Wow.
hopefully be here soon.
This is it's a liqueur, it's a liquor,
I think it's a liquor. I don't really know.
It's a liqueur.
Is it a liqueur? Okay, it's a liqueur.
You ordered it from Jerusalem?
Well, I ordered it from like an online site. I'm assuming that's where it all comes from.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Now what is this called again?
Tubi 60.
Tubi.
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 And then the number's 60.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was another word I'd never heard of before. That sounded like the number 60.
No, it's Tubi 60.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun to try.
I can't wait.
We
I
have
wish we
lots
could
of.
try it right now.
Some people were asking earlier about what games we have coming up on Beer and Board Games. We have a Guinness-based series of games that all involve Guinness. That's going to be next Saturday, including like Liar's Dice. There's a bunch of like fun games.
A series of games?
Yeah, like short, sort of party-ish games.
Oh, okay. So it's like a
series. You said series, and Siri thought you were talking to her.
Siri isn't Siri talking to her. Okay, go away. I love being rude to Siri because she always comes around when I...
Yeah, because you never actually need Siri.
I don't.
It's there's that movie coming out that's like that, but scary. I don't know if you'll
Oh, there's
see
like a
trailers for
scary
that.
Siri movie?
Starring Adam Devine.
Well, there's a heartwarming Siri movie that came out 4 years ago.
No, it's the opposite of that. It's like the Siri analog like falls in love with him and then just like ruins his life. And,
it's called like Jexy or something.
yeah, it takes over. It takes over his
Yeah.
bank accounts, and And I saw the trailer for that, and like, I'll probably watch that. Like, yeah.
Are there any other movies that are coming out that you're looking forward to?
Oh boy. I'm like super hyped for Uncut Gems. I don't know that much about it, but I know that Adam Sandler plays like a very intense, like,
I saw a preview for that. That looks really good.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
very intense, and a couple of my friends who are Jewish have also seen it and are like, this is the most fucking Jewish movie of all time. And I'm very excited to see Adam Sandler just like try to win an Oscar. That's very exciting to me. Like,
Well, he's actually a really good dramatic
I
actor.
know, but
yeah.
it's just like, it's like I think he's very good at that when he wants to be, but it also feels like he got to a point where he was like, I think it's time that I won an Oscar. Like, let's figure out how to make that happen.
yeah.
And then they found the director in the script,
Yep.
and they were like, this is it. Like, we got it.
I think it's been a long road for him because his early dramatic works, with the exception of Punch Drunk Love, were not quite there. But I
Right.
think he's sort of like inching towards
Yeah.
being a really good dramatic
I mean,
actor.
I'm mainly thinking of Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But the Doctor Sleep movie, I'm really excited about because I read the book, and the book is really great.
I saw a really funny video on Twitter of, I think, a Star Wars nerd reacting to the new Star Wars trailer, and he's like crying, and he's like, "Oh my God!" But they replaced it with this new Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, man.
So he's having this over the top, just like, he's like getting like the chills and like freaking out about
And
it.
it's just like Adam Sandler. That's great. I love that. That would be nice. That's like, I don't know. Like, I'm glad people like a lot of those movies, but I'd love to live in a world where people like go to Comic-Con and are cosplaying as Adam Sandler in that movie. Or just honestly, like a full, like my birthday party this year was Happy Gilmore themed. And I just like got very drunk and played mini golf and told everyone to take it way too seriously. And like, first of all, Adam Sandler historically has pulled off a lot of very good outfits in a lot of those early movies. He has like great outfits in Happy Gilmore, great outfits in Billy Madison, great outfits in Little Nicky. Also, I would absolutely go to a costume party where everyone had to dress up as a different Adam Sandler character.
That's what I'm saying. That would be a great
There's a
cosplay
rich,
group.
yeah, there's a rich tapestry.
A group of dudes as Sandlers.
Adam Sandler's, yeah.
Or for Halloween this year, get all your friends together, a group of 10 different Adam Sandlers. You'll be the hit of everywhere.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that works with. You could do a full group of Mike Myers. I wonder, is there? Do y'all know if there's an Austin Powers board game? There must be,
There
right?
should be.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard of one.
Because I've been getting back into
That would make sense, though, yeah.
the APCU, the Austin Powers Cinematic Universe, and really would love to like find other ways to engage with it.
APCU.
Yeah, I'm waiting for AP4. People keep saying it's coming
know.
out and it's not happening. I heard that he wrote a script and it's terrible and like he won't let anybody touch it because he's like, this is the best Austin Powers movie, and no one, like, people are like, Mike, can we at least give you like one round of notes? He's like, no. Which makes sense after watching The Love Guru.
Yeah. He was great in the Queen movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot that he was in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he shows up for the Bohemian Rhapsody bit.
Yeah. That was
There is an Austin Powers card game.
Okay.
A shagadelic card game based on the Austin Powers movies. The game is played with 2 decks containing 50 cards each, a groovy deck, and an evil deck for Dr. Evil.
Grant says there were 2 Austin Powers Game Boy games. Oh, Game Boy games, yeah.
One of them is apparently almost impossible. One of the Austin Powers Game Boy games is, I have heard, one of the most like unpleasant gaming experiences of all time, which is really saying something.
I believe that.
And there's an Austin Powers trivia game.
Not exciting.
Well, not really, unless you're a huge fan. There's only three movies. How much trivia can there be?
Oh,
There's you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Austin Powers trivia game. There you go.
I have a friend who like came over to rewatch all the Austin Powers movies with us, And I think this really made me nostalgic for DVDs because he had also memorized all of the commentary tracks from the Austin Powers DVDs. And so I like came out of the viewing
memorized the
experience.
commentary
Yeah,
tracks?
and was like, oh, I
Oh my
know a
God.
lot more about the making of these movies that I would not have gotten on Netflix because the commentary track isn't there. And I learned a lot about the making of those movies.
Wait a minute. So does he actually have like what they say memorized?
I think he has like
Or
the,
just
the
the
information.
information.
The
The facts.
gist.
Because if he was some sort of genius and actually knew everything they said, what would be really funny is to play the movie
And then he just
and
does the
then have
commentary
him
track.
do the commentary.
No, it would be sort of like we would get to a bit and he would be like, oh, they actually talk a lot about sort of like how they thought about what Mini-Me would do in this scene. And it's just like, I really enjoy imagining almost every meeting that went into the making of the Austin Powers movies where they were sort of like, Mike, like, who is this character? Like, gold member? Like, what's his deal? And he just comes in and he's like, he's Dutch. He, like, eats his own skin. His dick is a big gold key. And all the executives were like, great. Like, I love it. Like,
sounds
keep going, Mike. Like, that's awesome. And they just did it. They just, like, did it. And Beyonce was in that movie. And people forget that Beyonce was in that movie.
Yeah.
Just really, like, a very bizarre franchise that also reminds me of the best Halloween costume I think I've ever seen, which was last year. Somebody did a combination Austin Powers Joker. So he like was wearing a velvet like purple suit, but like with the Joker makeup, and kept saying, "Why so serious, baby?" And it was horrible. It was like really horrible, but also very, very funny. And you just couldn't look away.
Have you seen the Joker movie?
No, I haven't. No, I'm gonna give it a little bit of time. I think I needed to like let the discourse cool off a little bit. A lot of people were having opinions about it, and I didn't want to have an opinion. I love Joaquin Phoenix. That's the extent of my feeling about it so far.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the main thing I came away with thinking about was just like what an excruciating acting job it must have been for him. Just looked really difficult.
Well, he seems like the kind of guy
He would
where things
probably-
like that don't really bother.
No, he would be like happy.
He throws himself into those
Yeah.
kind of challenges.
I am excited to see all the videos of people falling down the stairs.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be good.
There's a really good Onion article that said like new Joker tour bus takes passengers down the stairs that he dances on during the movie. You see this double-decker bus like crashing down the stairs. It's just like the most random. It's like a class. It's like a random Onion article, which I always love when they do the weird random ones. But did you talk about the Joker on Basement, or
Not yet.
you haven't? Okay.
We probably won't until next year. It's the way we do it on that show. We don't like to be topical. We like to wait until it's
Wait until
old.
nobody cares.
Wait till exactly. Wait until nobody cares anymore, and then we talk
No,
about
they'll
it.
just keep asking us during streams, and then you'll just
I
be
don't
like,
know.
Well, who's that? What people are asking? What do they want
"Well,
to?
I don't. I've seen comments here and there.
Yeah, I'll talk about it on this show.
What do you
It's fine.
guys
I'm not going to talk
think
about it
about
now
Joker?
because our
Yeah,
friend here
'cause-
hasn't seen it.
No, I've heard a lot about it. You don't have to worry about spoiling me. I'm like aware of sort of the like. I've heard a lot about what happens in the movie, and I still am very confused.
Yeah.
So I thought about going to see it, and instead I rewatched Aquaman, which still. It makes me so happy that they got Pitbull to like do a cover of Africa, and then they jump out of a plane for some reason. That's what I want out of like my comic book movies. I want just like the most insane like set pieces that you can throw like $100 million at, and nobody really is sure why you're doing it, but it just like rules. And it's like, oh, are we gonna have like Jason Momoa like riding on like a giant armored squid? Like, yeah,
Yeah, of course
like,
we
that
are.
sounds sick.
We'll just come up with the yeah. You're right. I mean, it did just like go over the top, which was
I love that movie
You
a
want
lot. It was
Aquaman
very
to
dumb,
do
and
that.
I really, really loved it.
yeah, and it was bright and colorful.
The first thing I did in 2019. First thing I did in 2019 was like wake up, get very stoned, sneak a bagel into the theater, and then just like stare at Aquaman and be like, "This is very good." And like I'm very excited for the rest of this year
Wait,
now.
did you sneak a bagel or a beagle?
A bagel.
Oh, I thought you said beagle.
No, that would have
It's
been
like,
nice too.
well,
That was a
that's-
bagel.
I gotta watch movies with my
Yeah,
beagle.
I have my emotional support beagle. No, I just I had a bagel. It was really
Bagel.
nice. I had a great time.
That's a lot less difficult to sneak
Yeah,
a bagel
I
into
snuck a bagel
movie.
into the theater and had a really delightful time with Aquaman.
I think my main takeaway from the new Joker movie was that Hollywood, whether it's movies or TV shows, they need to lay off a little bit on the whole everybody's smoking. It's the past, so everybody's smoking.
Yeah.
Anything that takes place in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, everyone's chain smoking in every scene.
Yeah, but in those decades, everyone was smoking.
I know. I totally understand. I was there, and I know, and I don't.
You were there in the 60s?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No,
you
I
weren't.
wasn't. But I don't think they need to do it as much. They can do it sometimes, but not every single scene. Like in the Joker, there was barely a moment when he wasn't smoking.
Yeah.
Or somebody was smoking. Like, I agree. Like, it sets an atmosphere. It makes like a movie.
Oh, he smokes a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, what if they made it where smoking was the thing that made him into the Joker, and then it turned out to be just a be above the influence ad, where he's just like, "Damn, I've smoked too many cigarettes. I'm the Joker now."
It'd be more effective than, rewinding time to show the life of a cigarette or whatever.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey kids, But then it would just look cool. That's the problem. Every anti-smoking ad just makes smoking look really cool.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, again, it's just making smoking smoking is what crazy lunatic jokers do, and but we see it in everything that and even in stuff that's more current that takes place in the present. You still get a lot of people who are the evil people are smoking.
Smokies, yeah.
And they just look. I wish when I was growing up, I had seen anti-smoking ads that were look, we know that smoking looks ridiculously cool. We get it. You still shouldn't do it. But, we understand. Because I feel I would be told that, smoking isn't cool. And then I would see people smoking and be like, that's, objectively very cool. So I don't believe anything else that these people are telling me. And I could do anything now because I don't believe them when they tell, this is unhealthy for you.
Just offer an alternative. Just be like, hey, just wear sunglasses. It's much safer. And equally as
Equally cool.
There's really no reason you shouldn't just wear sunglasses. Because you don't look cool when you're smoking and with sunglasses. That's over the top. That's too much.
Yeah, just the sunglasses is enough.
But also, why is... So, the cool emoticon is an emoticon with sunglasses.
Right.
Why is it cool to have sunglasses? I've never really thought very deeply about this. Is it just because you can't see people's eyes?
I think that's why.
There's mystery?
Right, yeah. I think
It's the mystery of it, right?
It has a professional poker energy.
Yeah.
Where he's damn, he's about to drop $25,000 on this hand of poker.
You don't know what's going
it's nothing,
on,
yeah.
and that makes it cool.
And then there's cool things that you can do. You can just go or you can whip them off dramatically when you really want to be effective.
When you do it with regular glasses, it doesn't look cool.
Oh,
It looks kind of 90-year-oldish.
yes. Because 90-year-olds are doing that all the time.
No, they're sliding the glasses down to read. Just do the.
Yeah, they take the glasses off to read.
Well, no, put it back on.
No,
Put it in your mouth,
I'm not gonna put it in my.
like a professor.
I'm not here to titillate you. That's obviously what you want. Read the super chat.
Okay.
Dummy. Put it in your mouth.
But someone's like a professor when they start sticking the glasses in.
I'll read it. Hey, Matt, I know what your costume was for Welcome to the Basement. Taste it. Hey! He sent me that movie. That's why he knows.
The movie Taste It?
Yeah, he keeps saying taste it in a vaguely lewd way. Is his name Rude Awaken? Go
Yeah.
back there. Wasn't he Flesh Couch before?
He was Flesh Couch, yeah.
No, he changed it again.
Fleshy. It changes a lot. You got to keep track.
I think I sort of liked Fleshy the most of all of his names.
Fleshy's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, also check PayPal.
I'll do it.
Courtney's got it, right?
Nothing has shown up yet.
Okay, it'll show up in a minute. What was I gonna say?
I thought she just told you to shut up.
Well, I mean
Why don't
that
you
would
shut up?
That would be normal. I will just really quick give you a 30-second video game information update. The Outer Worlds is out, and it's really good. It's the spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas, and it's a really, really awesome game, and I can't wait to play it and make a series for Game Society. So,
Are they paying you to say this?
nope.
Why are you shilling for them?
It's really
For
good
nothing.
because the original Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas games were really good. And this game,
Nova
made by the same company, Obsidian.
Cola.
Nuka. Nuka Cola. Hey, that's good. You're doing that. You did good. You did great. Yes. You got it.
I just know this from merch around your house
Yes.
centering on this game.
There's shot
Do you-
glasses. In fact,
Do you know this
there's
game?
two
Do you know the
shot
game he's talking
glasses.
about?
Yeah, I haven't played any of the Fallout games, but I have watched other people play them. My primary interaction with the Fallout franchise is probably through like various iterations of Monster Factory.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all watch
Matt
that series.
has seen these two shot glasses sitting in a really obvious location in my house. Don't-
Oh yeah, Nova Cola.
Nova Cola and thumbs up.
Thumbs up, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my.
So, do you play any video games?
Some. My roommate is the editor of like she like writes about video games. That's like her job. So I sort of like learn a lot about them, and then I spend a lot of time watching her play shooters. But mostly I just have like a very, very unhealthy Pokemon habit, which is, I don't know, like, have y'all ever, I don't know if you guys play those.
I've played it a little bit, and then our friend Jason, who has kids, plays it all the time. In fact, he says, well, when he comes to my house, there's tons of them. So if you need any, there's lots of them around
It's
here.
there's like a sort of like very specific community that plays Pokemon games with this like very hard rule set, where you like can only catch the first thing that you encounter in any given area. You have to name all your Pokemon, and also if any of them faint, you have to release them. And for some reason, the reason is that I like had been prescribed the wrong dose of my medication. And like for 3 months after that, I was like, I think it would be a cool idea to sort of play Nuzlocke runs of every single Pokemon generation in order, which I proceeded to do. And now I have like a lot of thoughts bouncing around about it. And I sort of am like in a place now where I'm like, unfortunately, I continue to really love these games, and I'm very excited for the new ones because they have done like all the Pokemon, but they're British now, and I think that's really fun.
That
yeah.
sounds awesome.
It's the images of them I like highly recommend. I don't know if people watching have seen those, but like they made the new version of Weezing. It like is a sort of British industrialist that has like a smokestack coming out of its top hat. They made one that's just like a new Pokemon that's just tea and you can drink it, which is like kind of fucked up, but also I really like. There's one that's like a knight, and they just were like, we're gonna take some British shit and also they're Pokemon now, and I really appreciate that sort of like willingness for them to be ridiculous about it.
I like the idea of special British Pokemon.
They did it with Hawaii too. They're a special Hawaiian Pokemon.
Really?
Yeah, there's a special Hawaiian Raichu where its tail is the surfboard, and it just like goes around on its surfboard. And there's a Hawaiian Dugtrio where it's like a normal Dugtrio, but it has like blonde surfer wigs. Like all three of the heads have like blonde surfer wigs. That is like very weird to describe. Like it looks like someone put on like a Prince Valiant wig on this sort of like ground Pokemon, and it's really bizarre. But I hope that they keep doing it because I think it's very funny when they're like, we're gonna take some like tropes from this area and just like slap it on this Pokemon that you already like.
I think that's a good idea. Rude Awakening says, Rudy, who was fleshy, who was gassy, says check PayPal again because he forgot to complete the process. It'll come through. Eventually. Yeah, Matt doesn't really know much about Pokemon. Name a
I'm
Pokemon,
so sorry.
Matt.
Skarsgård.
That is, yeah. That's a guy.
He's a Viking Pokemon.
That was hilarious. If you know Pokemon and if you know actors, that's funny.
Okay, I believe it.
He evolves from Bill to Alexander.
Now, isn't there a Pokemon called Charizard?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
that's
joke.
clever.
See,
That
you
was
didn't
good.
even get it.
No,
You claim to know more about Pokemons than I do, and I
I've
made
heard
a
of
joke that
Charizard.
you didn't get.
but not Skarsgård.
That's
Well, I feel like I
was
picked
the
like
end
the,
of the
I feel like I picked
conversation.
like the worst possible video game franchise. I apologize deeply
No,
to
no.
everybody. No, the other thing I do is I play a lot of like old RPGs on my phone because there are like pretty good ports of a lot of like old Final Fantasy games, and I like being able to just sort of like run through them in a few days. Because it's like I don't have the attention span really to get through the amount of hours required to do like a big sort of like recent AAA game, but like I'll play like Final Fantasy 3 and like kind of casually like work my way through it, or like I'll play like I don't know. I finally played Chrono Trigger for the first time like 2 years ago, and
Oh, I think I played that
that was super fun.
a long time ago. Well, the Outer Worlds is good because it's really like you're really figuring out, you're telling your own story. You're meeting people and they're giving you lots of decisions you can make, whether to help them, hurt them, try to find a middle ground, or just murder everyone. You can
what are you talking about? Pokemon?
know the Outer Worlds. This
What's
new
the Outer Worlds?
game that just came out. It's
Okay.
a video game. Takes place on like a alien planet. Basically, I think it might be the future of Earth. I don't remember. But you arrive. Your ship is full of a bunch of people in cryo. You're revived. There's been a problem. You have to go down and find parts on this alien planet. And you start meeting people and getting wrapped up in all of the things that are happening with them.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it is.
How can I get involved in this?
Go to www.howcanigetinvolvedinthis.com
Wow, okay.
and they tell you how you can get involved with everything.
I'm going to go there right now. www. Dot.
Yeah.
How can I
Get involved with this.
involved with this?
Yep.
How can I get involved?
Rude Awakening says, also, can I get a toast from Baby Cookie with my round of shots?
Oh God, do we want to bring out Cookie?
Well, I guess we're going to have to.
Okay, I'm going to that site.
All right. Tell me what happens.
Safari cannot open the page because the server cannot be found.
It's an ARG.
Oh, damn
Well,
it.
that's too bad. That would be a good website.
Who's getting a toast?
Rude Awakening.
Oh, yeah.
You know. But Courtney hasn't brought us the information yet, so we'll wait for that.
Could it have went to Game Society?
Yes, that's possible.
Then you need to check that.
All right.
'cause I can't
Checking. Yes, it did. I see it. I don't see a message, but it's a round of shots. So, Courtney, what would you like?
What do I get to pick from?
Matt, give Courtney the options.
Le Frog?
No, that's not an option. That's only for special. Do you
Gold-
want anything, or
Goldschlager?
probably not?
No, I think I maybe could do like one more beer depending
One more
on pacing.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, me too.
Whiskey with cherry flavor?
She likes
Malort?
Goldschlager.
Oh yeah, Goldschlager's there. Matt, do you need a beer?
No. I'm good, thank you.
Alrighty.
Goldschlager for the lady.
Siren's
oh
Lure.
boy. All right, thank you.
Our next beer from Mel. Mel, we're going through all of your beer tonight.
Goldschlager, it's got real gold in it. Real gold.
Lots of gold flakes at the bottom. Are we having Goldschlager as well?
Oh,
It's around.
it's around. Well, what do you want?
Yeah, let's have Goldschlager. Let's
right.
finish that shit up.
It's almost gone.
I'm gonna taste this. Oh, that's good. Very fruity. What do you think?
Oh, I haven't tried it yet. I'm still.
Oh, yeah,
I'm,
you're still in the-
I'm gonna kill this and then I'm gonna.
Yeah, no, take your time. Take your time.
All right, this is for Rude Awakening.
Yep.
He said there should be a message. Was there a message?
I didn't get a message.
This probably came to me.
Oh,
as well.
round of shots for y'all lovely folks. Thank you. And that's going to be 20. No. 50. No. What's 80 divided by 5?
16.
16 entries into the contest to win a book, of which we're giving out 2 this evening.
Sam had a question for Eric.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
He says, I look forward to buying a copy of your book, mate. Will you be doing an audible audiobook of it? Cheers from Oz, Australia.
I don't think so. It would be cool if NYU Press wanted me to do it, but I think it is unlikely. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe they will sell so many copies that they'll be like, oh shit, like we gotta really get on like all the various forms of media. I do need them to sell a certain number of copies because they forgot to print my acknowledgments in the first edition, which is
So you need a second edition.
yeah, which is the reason that I need to do that is because the book is dedicated to my younger sister, who's like 9 years younger than me. Because many years ago, we made an agreement where I said if I dedicated a book to her, she would have to go on Survivor and then get far enough on Survivor to the challenge where you have a family member go to the island, and I would be the family member who goes to the island. And I need that to be in print because she refuses to start training to go on Survivor, and it's bullshit.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right. So, well, now that you've been on, on our channel, no problem. You're going to sell at least...
The 2 free ones.
That's great. No, that's perfect. We're getting 2 down. I'll send the publisher a note and be like, we got 2 more, and they'll be like, oh shit, like we spent all day trying to sell 2 more.
No, I mean, we have a lot of board game fans out there, and, there is some really interesting stuff in there, so I think some people will get it.
What does DD mean? Why does that person keep saying DD?
I think they're having a meltdown. Maybe they're doing sort of a word puzzle. Psychofire, what are you doing? Don't make us, time you out. Roses are red, violets are blue. My spleen and kidneys are inside your shoe. That's what the Rude Awakening says. Thank you, Rude Awakening. Well, Courtney, if Psychofire keeps doing that, you might just have to time them out. It happens.
What are they having a seizure?
Yes. It happens. Online seizure. We did it. Oh, what about role-playing? Do you ever do any RPGing?
Yeah, I haven't in a grip, but I had a pretty good D&D campaign running for a while that I hijacked by trying to turn it into the Young Pope, which I did successfully, and then we ended the campaign because no one wanted to do it anymore. And then we had a Monster Hearts campaign going for a while that was really fun. I don't know if y'all played.
Haven't played it.
It's a Powered by the Apocalypse game where basically everyone is playing as a high school student who is also a monster, and you mostly just are causing drama. So the classes are like Ghost or like Hive, like Alien Hive Mind, or like kind of like a Jennifer's Body, like Rev, type thing. It's fun. All the sort of Powered by the Apocalypse moves are like, you make one of the other players uncomfortably horny, and then they have to do something for you because everyone's playing as just a ridiculous teen. I really like that stuff, and I want to play more stuff that uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system.
Yeah, I played something at Gen Con, an RPG that was like a superhero thing, but you're teenage superheroes, and it was really different because the whole thing is you're kind of just discovering your powers.
Mm-hmm.
You're not super good at it yet. So if you don't roll really well, you fail in some way to use your powers properly. And so there will be like, I wouldn't say a negative effect, but there will be like an emotional effect that will happen. Like, so like, there's a van that's getting away, and you use your teleport power to try to teleport or phase through the side of the van to get inside to go find out where the criminals are, and you fail and smack into the side of the van and land on the ground, and as a result of rolling, you figure out that you're going to just retreat and run away from the rest of the people that you're with because you're just ashamed. So you just like...
Oh, okay, that's a different emotional side effect. I thought for a second you were going to be like, you teleport, and then you're like, wait, am I still the same person? Is this like in Star Trek when you get beamed and like, am I dead? Like,
it's more just like a failure thing, or like, like, since, like, or my character was teleporting, and so since, teleporting was a little bit risky for me because I was still figuring it out, I was up at the top of a building, and I could have teleported down to the bottom. And I was just like, no, I'll just take the stairs. It's just like, we're not in a hurry right now, so like, why take the chance that I'm going to shame myself again?
I want to just play stuff in like very dumb and really specific genres. I feel like this is like a theme of stuff that I like. Like, I have a friend who I sort of have been who like does some role-playing design, and I keep trying to get her to design a like game in which all the players are mech pilots, but you don't do any mech fighting. It's all about like the romantic drama between the mech pilots.
Yeah.
And like that I think would be really fun. I've really wanted to play a role-playing game for a while where you're like a celebrity chef. It's like the wrestling one. If y'all play that, I've seen it. I've been trying to get it. I want to get a campaign going, but you like are professional wrestlers, and so all of the moves are not about like you winning the match. It's about like, have you put on a good show, and like, are you going to get paid better by the promoter, and then you like are like rolling to suplex, and like it seems really cool. And I want that, but you're like a celebrity chef, and you're trying to like dazzle people with your like Guy Fieri moves. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Which is apparently pronounced Fieri.
Guy Fieri.
Yeah, that's how he will
Mayor of
correct
Flavor Town. That's where the accent is.
He is the mayor of Flavor Town.
He is. But there's just it's like I don't know, like I want to do it where you're like, oh, are you playing as the Guy Fieri class, and then you have like really good presentation and like whatever, or like are you playing as the Emerald Lagasse class, and then like the constraint is that you have to yell "bam" at the end of every sentence, and if you don't, like you get fucking like. There's just like a lot of good celebrity chefs that I think would be fun to like kind of figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, to incorporate. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. What have y'all done lately? What should I be trying?
I mean, we haven't played... we played Vampire the Masquerade again recently.
Yeah, we've played that before.
We played it before, and our friend does like a Morgan Freeman impression, and so Morgan Freeman is a werewolf, and he we're vampires in that story, and we go around trying to do stuff for him. But that's an old RPG.
We don't really play RPGs seriously on the show.
No,
we just
never.
kind of mess around.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point, though.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like you had a good format for like a lot of one-shots. I've really wanted to play for Sherlock Holmes, but one of the Sherlock Holmes is a vampire. Which is a game, I don't know if y'all are like into the Adventure Zone, but it's like a one-off that somebody wrote based on a dumb comment that one of them made, in which the classes are like Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes, and you just like are an asshole who has no friends. The Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where you like fight good and Jude Law is there for some reason, like, and it just like has all the different actors who've like ever played Sherlock Holmes, and like those are the classes of the game, and it's like, that's very dumb, and it makes me really happy to imagine it sort of being
that sounds
like
really fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna play as like, I don't know, like I would play probably as the Sherlock Holmes from the short-lived animated series Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, in which a descendant of Watson accidentally imprints a robot with the memories of Sherlock Holmes, and then she and the robot solve crimes, and the robot is like Robo Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay.
That was like a great
That makes a lot of sense.
it was like around the same time that I got really into Reboot, and the Spider-Man cartoon in which Spider-Man accidentally goes to like a dystopian space future. It's a big sort of like theme in that period.
I like that idea. That would be really fun if we could all be Sherlock Holmeses.
It's good. What were the other Sherlock Holmes classes they did? Robert Downey Jr., Benedict Cumberbatch. One of them did one from this movie that I haven't seen, in which this guy is like has like a mental illness in which he is convinced that he's Sherlock Holmes. I haven't seen it.
That movie is called They Might Be Giants.
Oh, the movie's called They Might Be
really?
Giants.
Yep.
I knew that's what the name came from, but I thought it was a
okay.
line in the movie. I didn't realize that was what it came.
That was the title of the movie.
Yeah. One of them played as that Sherlock Holmes, but he just was like crazy the whole time.
Sure.
And then I think the fourth one was from a series of Sherlock Holmes FMV games that I had never played, but I really appreciated hearing about.
Huh.
And just like, yeah, there are a lot of good Sherlock Holmeses. You could play as House, Monk, any character from a USA series from the last like 15 years. Like,
I would want to play as Albert Campion, even though he's not Sherlock Holmes.
I don't know who that
But he's a famous detective. It's a series of novels by Marjorie Ellingham.
A Poirot. There are like 6 Poirots. Like, I would play a Bird Notice role-playing game.
A what?
Bird Notice?
Bird Notice?
Bird Notice?
Oh, Bird Notice.
Bird Notice.
I would play that too. It's just Bird Notice, but they're all birds. And it's just like, shit, I'm Michael Weston. I used to be like a bird spy. And then like I got, now I have to like live in Miami and hang out with Bruce Campbell.
Oh, I thought, wasn't there a drunk TED talk about pigeons?
Pigeons. There probably was, but I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I was looking at stuff like that today. That sounds
What were there other titles that like jumped out?
The pigeons one is the only one I remember at the moment.
Shit.
But there were other ones.
Okay.
But I don't know. It was the NPR interview.
Oh.
I think that was it. Or am I confused? I could be confusing this with something else. It's entirely possible you never did.
Yeah,
any
the
TED Talk
NPR. Well,
something
so
else.
I didn't do an NPR interview. Basically, what happened was like after Ted threatened to sue me, I like called a bunch of people, and then there were a couple of like news stories about it, and then somebody.
Oh, it was a news story. Okay.
Yeah, and somebody at NPR picked it up, and it was like the lead-in of Morning Edition that day. and it
what
was,
it
I think,
was.
the only
Yeah.
time that my parents have ever been proud of me. Because people were sort of like driving around listening to Morning Edition, and they were like, "We heard your son on the NPR," and that was like very, very nice. Sort of people being like, "Damn, like I can't believe that they talked about this in the context of like him getting shut down by the lawyers at the TED organization," which really like they claimed that people did not know that my show was not a TEDx event because there are just like so many TEDx events. And I feel pretty comfortable saying that like if that is sort of the situation in which you found yourself where you don't realize that the thing that I was doing was a parody and not like an officially sanctioned TED event, it either means one, all of the like sort of officially / unofficially TED sanctioned events suck, or your audience is like not very discerning, and I don't feel under any obligation to try to educate them effectively. And then I had to make a sort of in memoriam montage for the iteration of Drunk TED Talks that was set to In the Arms of the Angels.
Sam had a question for Eric.
Well, wait. Before you ask that, can you just hold it for a second, Courtney? Because on that topic, we've had two sort of situations similar to that. One of them was Chad Vader, obviously. Chad Vader, we weren't allowed to make a Chad Vader TV show because Lucasfilm was worried that people would think that it was Darth Vader. If he's working in a grocery store and obviously not Darth Vader, they didn't want people to find Star Wars through Chad Vader, basically, I think is what was going on. I mean, that's basically what they said.
That sucks.
But they said he could have been like not the main character if we'd wanted to make the show, which maybe we should have done, but I don't know. It didn't work out. So that was Like that was like again like that same situation where it's just like, so do you really think people are gonna think it's Darth Vader if he's? But probably, maybe, who knows? And then another random thing happened. Like on our second channel, I did the series for a long time where I'm just this weird guy with glasses and a comb over named Hal Thompson, and he does a series called E-How to do really ridiculous things like summon a succubus or like
Is eHow even a thing anymore?
I don't know, but at the time it was, and but I think they've been taken over by something else. But at the time, eHow contacted me and was just like, your videos are all coming up when people search eHow, and I was like, great. And they were like, please don't do that, or we're gonna have to cause trouble. And I was just like, okay, well, how am I gonna go back and change all these videos? So I had to do weird things to try to change the videos and stuff like that because I didn't want to get in trouble from eHow, which probably doesn't even really exist much anymore, ironically. But it was a thing back then.
I mean, nowadays it just sounds silly.
Yeah.
eHow.
Yeah. It was silly at the time.
I mean, I'm obviously biased about this, but intellectual property law in this country is buck wild. It's just I don't know. I got a bunch of people email me and were like, "We're interested in representing you pro bono." And it's like
You could have made a thing out of it.
Yeah, and it's it would have been
'Cause it's a
interesting.
satire.
Yeah, it would have been interesting and probably useful in some way, but I just didn't want to be the poster child for that. It just felt like it would have been a really big time commitment for something that I was not that committed to. Not the event that I was not that committed to, but the sort of intellectual property right.
Right.
Intellectual copyright laws.
Yeah. No, I definitely
Just crazy.
get what you're saying. Yeah. It's a little ridiculous. But it's what it is, I guess. Okay, now do you have that question for us? From Sam Dean?
Find it.
So, real quick, we've been going for about 2 hours now. You want to wrap it up
Yeah,
in
we should wrap it up
10
pretty
minutes?
soon.
Like
Sure.
10 minutes?
Okay, so we're going to do a drawing pretty soon for 2 copies of this book. If you want to get in on that, it's $5, Super Chat or PayPal. If you want to get us the last round of shots, whatever you want to do.
If you win, we will mail them to you. We will do that.
Sam says, is there a game mechanic you found really annoying? Discuss.
Oh, and we'll sign them too. We'll all sign them. A game mechanic.
Well, I feel like we talked about the social deduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I personally find it annoying, but it's only because I don't like lying. I totally get why people enjoy it. It just sort of doesn't do it for me.
Well, it's not a game mechanic, but it's a trend of games that I find annoying, is that people making games that have always just kind of existed in the air. Like Flip Cup, the game.
Oh, yeah.
Or I suppose Gestures, did it with Charades, made Charades the board game.
Right.
But
right.
I always just get annoyed by that.
Version of Flip Cup?
There is.
There are several.
What does that look like?
Well, it's like a combination of kind of frat house bar games.
Okay.
So it's like Flip Cup, beer pong, 12 games in one, but you don't need to buy a box to play them. You can just
Or like the water bottle, flip.
the
game.
bottle.
The water bottle challenge.
Yeah.
Which we played.
Because I would love, if someone was like, we made a board game about Flip Cup, but you don't actually play Flip Cup in it, it's just all you're going through all the spaces, trying to effectively fill up all the cups and make sure that they're even.
You're getting ready for a party.
Yeah, and the game ends when you're the game of Flip Cup is ready, and then you don't actually play. That would be great. But not a we've just effectively monetized this thing.
Yeah, we've got a box with a cup in it.
Oh, that's
just add water. Whatever.
Cool.
I this is a really basic, simple game mechanic that needs to not be in any game ever again.
I know what you're going to say.
It's just the space that either says lose a turn or roll again. No. That's just lazy.
Or the spinner space that says spin again.
Yeah. I don't want to. I just spun. I don't need to spin again. I don't need to roll again. I'm playing a game. I don't need to do that twice. It's not enjoyable. It's like they think that, yeah. And then also games that just have, if they are dice rolling games where you're just going along a Candyland and there's just a blank space and nothing happens, it's just That maybe that was fun, like 100 years
Well,
ago.
no, but if there are spaces where bad things happen, you're glad to land in that space because it's a safe space.
Right. I guess. Yeah. Maybe if you need that kind of space.
Yeah, I'm not with you on that one, but the spin again and roll again, I'm
the Dark Souls of board games, where it's just every space is terrible, and then there's one that's like, this is okay, like nothing bad can happen on this one. Everything else
all
is
you're
terrible.
praying for is that one blank space where nothing happens.
The bonfire space.
Then it's good. Yeah.
Is there a Dark Souls board game?
There is a Dark Souls board game. I have it in my closet.
Is it just like impossible?
It's hard. We played it about 2 turns.
What is it like?
It's like 4 rooms, and they get increasingly harder.
Oh yeah, and there's a bonfire. I remember that.
Yeah, that's where you respawn when you die.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that was a big deal when it came out.
Yes.
And we got one of the first copies of it. They sent it to us.
I think you're right. Yeah.
We played it and we just didn't know.
And we were just like, wow, I don't. We get confused when we're drinking. It's weird.
Dan says, what is Eric's favorite board game?
I think that my personal favorite is probably the first season of Pandemic Legacy. Like, I think I have a different. I really like well done sort of like theme and narrative. And I feel like a lot of people that I am friends with and like play a lot of stuff with get a lot out of like game systems. And I think I'm like too dumb to appreciate those, or the way that I think is just like a little bit different. And I really like, I don't know if people care about spoiler warnings for Pandemic Legacy, but you play the first game and it's like a normal game of Pandemic, and then all of a sudden some shit goes wild. And you're like, oh, wow, the second game of this is going to be really different. And then it changes at this really, really effective rate where you kind of are constantly adjusting to, like, 2 new rules. And none of the games are the same, but they all feel very part of this overall experience in a way that is just, like, a lot of fun and very complicated, but that really is just, like, super immersive. And it really, like, that's, like, the only reason there's a full chapter about legacy games in the book, because I played that and was like, wow, this fucking rules. And then I played Seafall, which does not rule, and Pandemic Legacy Season 2, which is just, like, very messy. And it's like, I don't know, I understand that sort of legacy stuff is very hot in a way where, like, a lot of the games will be bad, probably, but I think that as people figure out how to do the mechanic well, I'm like very excited to see sort of like what people come up with, because there just is a lot of room to play around with like the base structure of things and to sort of be like, I don't know, I think a lot about this thing that Rob Daviau said when people asked him, like, isn't it like fucked up that you're giving people a version of Pandemic that you could only play like 12 times? And he said, like, no, this is a version of Pandemic that you're going to play 12 times.
Right, exactly, yeah.
There you go.
Right, it's like any other game that you buy, like especially if you play a lot of games, you're going to play at most like 3 or 4 times because you're going to go on to some other shit. But the thing that's good about well-done legacy games is that they get you to really engage with them, and it's okay that you're only going to do it once because you're fully engaged the whole way, and it keeps changing things effectively enough that it feels like you are constantly being given new things to react to. And I think that's super cool. But I also know that people sort of have like very differing opinions about legacy games, but I think that like that type of campaign is like really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, how many times are you going to play Twilight Imperium? How many days in your
Right,
life
exactly.
do you have available to play?
Right.
Probably none. I think I did try to play that game once. I can't remember, but yeah, it's like the longest game ever. It's like Talisman. It's like Talisman with 10 people, and your turn comes around once every 30 minutes. And
It's like I don't know. I was thinking about like when's the next time I'm gonna have enough time to play Twilight Struggle. Like hopefully, I mean honestly, hopefully never. Hopefully I don't ever have a day where I'm like, I have like 4 or 5 free hours.
all I need to do is eat today, so I'm just gonna play this.
and like
Play this and eat.
it's fine. I feel like if I'm scheduling it like 2 months out, because I had like one friend that I played Twilight Struggle with, and if we were like, we're gonna make plans and hang out and like this is what we're gonna do today, then it's fine. But I don't think I would ever like wake up and be like, I am in the mood to play Twilight Struggle today. And I think it's cool.
I can safely say I haven't woken up thinking that either at any point.
Have y'all tried that on this? I don't know how it would work on this format. I feel like it's like a little too like there's a lot of stuff going on.
No, we don't have that. We just couldn't. We would just play a turn. I mean, and it might be satisfying. I don't know. Randomized super chats. My favorite game mechanic is the one from Matt's Game Dream. Start, one space, then end, and go back to start.
Game the game.
That was Game the Game?
Yep. Game : the game. It wasn't exactly that, but it was something like that.
The Rude Awakening, formerly known as Fleshy. I totally forgot I got no toast from Baby Cookie. Now she has to do it with a Malort.
Okay.
So does that mean we have to drink Malort when Baby Cookie comes out? All right,
sure.
this will be our final activity. We're not going to play Talisman right now.
There's nothing... I'm seeing this comment. There's nothing wrong with Twilight Struggle. It just takes a long time. I really like it. It just, is very hard to be able to say, this is what I'm going to do, especially because it's only 2 people. I think if it was more people, it would be easier to say, this is the thing I want to do as a group activity. But being able to say, I'm going to spend my entire day with, one person playing is just, I think that's a taste thing. It's, a good game that I very much enjoy playing. I just haven't done it in, 2 years. And I don't know when I'll be able to do it again. But it's, a good game. I really like playing it. Especially because I have my friend that I played with made a, very involved Cold War Spotify playlist that goes from the 50s through the 80s, and that you kind of have to fast forward through as you're playing.
Oh,
and then at the end you just get very drunk and argue about the Americans.
Yeah, you make a day of it. That's kind of cool.
That's right. So that's what you have to do. It's you have to be
the board game then makes this epic day.
Yeah, it's this is what we're gonna do. It's we're gonna talk about the Cold War.
Yeah.
We're gonna play this and we're gonna talk about Fidel Castro. We're gonna get really involved in talking about John Paul II and what the Vatican was up to during the Cold War. We're gonna do research. We're gonna read the 300-page booklet that has all the tips for what to do with the cards. Because I can't memorize that. I just have to.
What?
The Malort's from Matt.
Oh well, I guess I'm having a little bit too.
Okay, so you've watched our show? Have you seen Baby Cookie?
I have not seen Baby Cookie.
Okay, well...
Well, you're about to see Baby Cookie.
All right, well, here's to Rude Awakening.
Are you can you put your head away to keep the magic, Matt? Because there's a lot of people watching that.
No, but they see the magic anyway.
No, they're not going to see. This is on the live streams they do. Here, put this in front of your mouth.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I know what Joe means about them.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Baby Cookie. I'm still wearing that same sweater I was wearing 2 weeks ago.
Hi, Cookie. We need you to make a toast to Rude Awakening. He wants a toast from you.
From me?
Yes.
Okay, well, here's to Rude Awakening.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
Cookie, you have to make the toast.
I just did, fool.
You did?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said, here's to, and then the man's name, which I already forgot.
I don't think that's a very good toast.
Good or not, my job is done.
Well, what have you been up to today?
Well, I'm not wearing no pants to start with.
Oh, we can see that.
Yeah.
Usually you don't wear any clothes,
Yep.
but it's cold out, sweater weather.
Yeah, it's cold. I'll freeze my ass off if I run around with no clothes on.
Don't you have heat?
Got no heat. Heat been toint off.
What?
You heard me.
Toink?
Yeah.
Okay, Cookie. Well, thank you for visiting us.
Yeah, I gotta go. Gotta build a fire in my house.
Oh.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound like a
That
good
doesn't
idea.
sound good at all.
Nope.
I thought you were gonna,
No good ideas.
I thought you were going to say you're going to go giggle at a funeral.
I could do that too. Bye.
Oh boy, it's always embarrassing when we have new guests. Have to be subjected to Baby Cookie.
Well, she's just herself. She can't help it.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Rude Awakening. I hope you enjoyed that. And I think it's about time for us to do our drawing, and we're going to say goodnight in a couple minutes. So let's do that.
Yeah, I know. It's like discovering the wizard behind the curtain.
Courtney will will end her online shopping session.
Yep.
And she'll give us the
She'll have
names
to.
for the drawing. People accuse her of shopping online while she's moderating.
One did.
One person.
Who is that lady in the background shopping? What? I guess someone standing at a computer means they're shopping?
That's
It was
why the stream is slow.
the strangest comment I've ever
Women
seen.
be shopping.
Yeah, women be,
Women be
we
shopping.
know, we know that women be shopping.
Unless they're playing Ms. Monopoly, in which case they'd be dominating all the competition. All right, so we're going to draw 2 names.
Gonna mix this up real good. We're gonna have our special guest draw the winning
Ooh,
names. Gonna have you close your eyes. Okay, these are all mixed up. Close your
Okay.
eyes. Draw 2
They are
names.
closed.
Okay. Well, wait.
Oh, should I? Okay, we're reading this one
no,
first.
no. Let me look at it. And
Okay,
if your second name
okay.
is if it's the same
Okay,
one, then
okay,
we'll
got
draw
it,
it.
got it.
Okay.
It's like Bird Box.
A little bit like Bird Box, yes. Except you're not on a river.
Is it the same name?
No, but I
Okay.
can't read this name. It looks like we.
No,
Is it Will?
it's Will.
Am I not supposed to?
No, it's Will.
Will?
Fleshy.
His name is Will?
A.K.A. Rude Awakening.
Am I wrong?
No, you're
I
right.
thought it was Will.
Yeah.
E?
It's... What?
I don't know if you wanted his last name. There's a Will that doesn't sometimes.
Yeah,
Is
it was...
Will E?
That's Rude Awakening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Will is the winner of one book, and the other winner is Sean Henry.
Hey!
We'll send this to your girlfriend who lives in the States.
Your girlfriend?
Your girlfriend.
I'll send it to your girlfriend.
It's the Malort.
She lives in the States. My girlfriend lives in the States as well.
Your girlfriend lives upstairs. From you.
From me.
She lives up the stairs.
Well, I know Sean is going to love this because he definitely is into books. He's a teacher.
He's a reader.
He's a reader.
Wow, this would make I will say one thing I have thought about this book is that it would make a great textbook to buy like 30 copies of.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
just distribute to a lot of children.
You should require it for one of your classes, Sean. Wouldn't be appropriate at all, but you should still do it.
In
Yeah,
theory, that's something that they should have done. Ugh.
Well, Sean does teach medieval studies.
Exactly.
So I don't think it would be appropriate for his
If
classes.
you want to, get people to know about board games in your medieval class.
I mean, I guess Settlers of Catan could be somewhat relatable
Yeah.
to that
Mhm.
area of study.
Definitely.
Wow, that I would love like a sort of collective class that's like we're gonna play Catan, we're gonna read this book, and then we're gonna watch Vinland Saga, and really
that would
just
be-
go deep on like all of the ways in which one sort of expects to learn about the Vikings.
Yeah. And board games are so big now, there should be like a class just on board games.
There
There
is-
will be, and there
Is
probably
there?
is. Yeah.
I think there probably is. Although I was going to just relate to Vinland Saga, there is, I haven't gotten that deep into it, but there is, I don't know what the sort of like anime overlap is with the audience, but there's a show that premiered this season called After School Dice Club that is literally just like, here are some Japanese teenagers and they're going to play board games, and they're all like real games. It's like very soothing. They play, I believe at one point they will play Hanabi. So they just like go into this game store and are like, we're gonna play board games, but do it in this like very intense anime fashion, which I really appreciate because that sort of is like how I think about like I would like my games to.
That's how you That's how you feel when you're playing board.
Well,
games.
it's like okay, I don't know if you guys have played the Yu-Gi-Oh game. That's fine. It's.
Aware of it, but
My roommate and I got really into it like a year or two ago, and she basically bought a lot of cards secretly that were like not ones that we had in our collection and like snuck them into her deck.
Wow.
And so at one point she like put down a card in defense mode and I attacked it and she flipped it over and it was like the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is like the big one from the show. And it was the closest I've ever come to like being hit with a gust of like inside wind. Like, I flipped it over and was just like, wow, unbelievable! And it was really the closest I've ever come to having, like, that type of affective, like, anime experience. It was really beautiful. And, like,
You didn't know that she had that card.
no, because I bought 2 starter decks, so we had been playing with the 2 starter decks, and then she bought the fucking Kaiba deck in secret and snuck it into the other deck. It was great.
That's good.
I was
really good.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful.
It's like someone sneaking like a Mox into a Magic the Gathering, you know, from like the original set, which is like totally insane and overpowered.
Yeah, it just, and you're like, oh no, like how am I gonna beat this? And it just really like kind of had all of the things that you want from like playing that type of game of like, oh no, like the whole thing is seesawing really crazily and I'm like on the ropes and now I have to summon a pharaoh for some reason.
Could Eric sign the books?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm happy
absolutely.
to sign the books.
Can you grab the books? We can sign
yes,
them
right
while
now.
we're sitting here.
Well, I mean, should we sign them?
I don't
We
know.
didn't write
That would be
them.
kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I think it would be
We
weird.
probably shouldn't.
We should just let him sign the book.
We'll just let him sign the books.
Signing games is one thing. But, you know,
We can sign these. No, these guys have already got stuff from us. They don't need us to sign them. All right, so yeah, you should definitely sign them now.
you have a... He's...
I'm prepared.
Oh, nice.
People keep giving me Sharpies to sign people's books with, and then I keep sort of like not writing the things that people want me to write in their books.
That's funny.
Do the people who want the drawing have specific things that they would like me to write, or should I kind of just?
I think you should just go for it.
Yeah, just go for it, because then you won't write them anyway.
Right, so they shouldn't bother asking.
Mr. Jinxie says, I have the Power 9, Aaron. I believe you, Mr. Jinxie.
All right, well, we want to thank you guys for joining us. I think we're going to say goodnight. We had a good time. We had a great time meeting our special guest and hanging out with you on a Friday. And
Yeah, thanks for coming over, by the way, Aaron.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm
great.
glad. This is lovely. This is definitely sort of the least stressful thing I've done as part of this book tour. Normally, people are very like, but why board games? And I really appreciate not having to sort of like have that initial conversation,
Yeah.
or have people be like, isn't it weird that people play board games instead of video games these days? And I just sort of, it's like, and I totally get why people like have that sort of reaction, but it also becomes very like the
it's
seventh
the same
time
thing. It's just
Yeah.
like, because it's social, because there's a million different reasons. Like, it's just...
They're just different.
Yeah.
They're just different. It's just very, very different experiences, and people want different things at different times, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly,
But people
yeah.
sort of like, you have to contextualize it in the span of like, this thing is a screen, and so of course people are going to want to do it because young people want to stare at their screens, and it's like, oh no, man, like, I'm not Banksy, like...
I mean, I used to play board games when I was a teenager by myself if no one was around. I would just, like, play all the different things, and I just loved the game so much that I was just like, oh, well, just play it by myself.
That's another fact in the book that one of the games I talk about, Maze of Death, was created as a D&D campaign that you could play with one
yes.
person.
Maze of Death
Yeah.
is something that... Can I borrow that for a
Yeah.
second?
It was
I really want to check that
It
out.
was. It's really interesting. It was created as a one-player D&D game, and you have the option to negotiate with the monsters, and you can also get them high.
What?
So one of the things that you can do in the game is you can like acquire beer or like magic herb. And one of your options in the game when you encounter a monster is you can like give the monster like your magic herb. And then the game will be like, damn, this monster is like totally blazed right now, and like it's chill. It's kind of like chill with you going on to the next room.
Oh, that's
and like
great.
that makes me real. That's like such a nice like way of doing problem solving in a role playing game.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it would make me really happy if there was a sort of like very standard dungeon crawler.
Oh, like an owl bear who's just like, like doesn't really want to fight, just wants to smoke.
Yeah, or like like a beholder.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, you ever like get blazed and check out a kaleidoscope and the beholder's like, no, and then you just has like a giant
Let
kaleidoscope.
me introduce
yeah,
you.
this sort of like getting really into like very specific beholder shit. Like that would be lovely. I would love to sort of like find someone who would be willing to DM that type of like campaign. That would be great.
But this was actually like you could play this as one
Yes,
player.
you could play. It was designed to be able to be played as one person.
Which I'm really curious about.
Yeah, it like basically creates a very specific set of rules for creating like the randomized rooms that exist in the dungeon, and then it mostly is dice, but you get to kind of like you have specific decisions that you can make in certain places, and it kind of is just like this weird little self-contained system that's really fun. Yeah, I can just send you the I have the PDF of the rules floating.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. It's really really interesting. You know, it's the kind of thing where it's like if it's like a 70s war game where there's just like way too many numbers, but it's pretty cool.
That sounds awesome.
All right. Well, we will say goodnight to you guys, and we are going to have another live stream this coming Saturday, not tomorrow, but the next
week from Saturday.
And that's going to be a regular Beer and Board Games episode, and we hope you will join us for that.
Oh, I should probably like find some people.
You probably should.
I forgot to get people for that. I should do that.
Okay, well, why don't you hit the button, and then we'll talk about it.
All right, we're going to hit the button and talk about it. Good night, everybody, and thank you for watching, and we'll send you those books. I'm pretty sure I have Sean and Fleshy's addresses, so you probably don't need to send those. Hope you have a good weekend, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again to Eric for coming over, and thanks to Courtney for managing the feed. Good night.